from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer. With boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners, wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Have I told you, have I shown you what I'm feeling when I hold you? It feels like heaven, heaven surrounds me. Every time you wrap your arms around me, and there's nothing I can say you'll ever do to deserve the love of a woman like you. When you're with me, when you kiss me, when you tell me how much you miss me, every moment we're together brings us closer, closer to forever. And there's nothing I can say or ever do to deserve the love of a woman like you. Yeah. Without a woman like you, oh, a woman like you. Have I told you, have I shown you what I'm feeling when I hold you? It feels like heaven, sun surrounds me. Every time you wrap your arms around me, and there's nothing I can say or ever do to deserve the love of a woman like you. No, there's nothing I can say or ever do to deserve the love of a woman like you. Yeah, yeah. A woman like you. Oh, I don't deserve it, but I'm thankful. Oh, a woman like
Wake up, rise up. It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
a woman like you. Oh, I don't deserve it, but I'm thankful. Oh, a woman like you.
Oh, yes, we are very, very thankful for everyone. Yeah.
Oh, I
For
don't
people just like you tuning in, tuning on, and logging on. Welcome to New Era TT Radio, taking you above and beyond.
Oh, I don't
On
deserve
this beautiful midweek Wednesday, we're glad to be in your company.
oh, a woman like
Obviously, Sir Charles, and of course,
you.
the moment we join the team because we're getting ready. Well, we are here right now because this is your breakfast show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line, let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Oh, oh, good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
I must admit that I am dancing when that song is playing. I have to.
I'm telling you, it is a vibe, it's a real vibe, you know.
It's a really wake up kind of moving kind of song.
Yeah, it is.
I think what we should do is have a competition for the best dance or the best dance somebody could come up with. As long as nobody knows how to twerk.
What's wrong with twerking?
For Zena and CJ and Miss R, that might be a little problem, you know.
No, man, they could handle the stories.
They can handle the stories. All right, I'll take your word for it.
Zena? Is Zena name you mentioned, you know?
Yeah.
Mrs. R? No, man, they could handle their stories.
Rena Boodoo Jennings. I want to see that piece of talk. Melissa, Marcia Rock, DL, Beauty Culture. I want to see them talk.
You're on your own now.
When we do the boat ride or the get together for the breakfast show, we'll get a chance to see them. We started off the breakfast show live with that tune. Play it again. Just for so. Play it again.
You mean the opening sequence?
Yeah, play the opening sequence.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line, let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Oh, oh, good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
Wake up, people, wake up.
What we can probably do is get the business to write the rest of the song, and who knows, put it out there. We might do some work in the carnival. You know?
Is Richard write the song, Sir Charles?
Yeah, it's me write it. But anyway, it's Wednesday morning. Is it Wednesday morning? I am a little tired this morning. I know you are too, Wendell.
I am very tired.
But it's Wednesday morning and it's a short week. So tomorrow is like a Friday. So the weekend has begun. No, not yet. The weekend is about to begin. So it'll begin at a second half of midnight tonight. Because it's Wednesday as we move into Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and this long Easter weekend where Tobago sinks a little bit because there's so many people in Tobago and so many people head over to Tobago this weekend. You couldn't even get to Tobago if you wanted. I'm sure that all flights are booked and I'm sure the ferries are booked out. It's just that weekend where Trinidadians converge on Tobago.
Yeah. And so, if not Tobago, Miami.
Yeah. Or Miami, yeah. Tobago is going to be ram-packed this weekend. So, I mean, of course, it is the most important period on the Christian calendar this weekend. You know, Easter is the most important time in the Christian calendar from a Catholic point of view. And I assume Anglican, since you're an offshoot. And I didn't say anything that's untrue.
No,
so we'll see how it all plays out, but it's lovely to have a nice long weekend to relax and do whatever the hell you want to do.
Anyway, good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. It's very nice to have you here. A lot of you have been logged on already. And yesterday, I have to tell you, well, you know, I do this as my good news. In an informal way, you understand, is that we had our program yesterday had the most amount of views that we have ever had. All right, so we want to thank you, wonderful people who continue to subscribe and look at us on this breakfast show. And yes, I am tired. I have a couple family members who are here and they're about to leave tomorrow, so I had to do that dinner thing and late night thing with them. So. You know, one from Covington, Georgia. We have a listener, somebody who is weighing from Covington, Georgia, and of course, the other one from Pennsylvania. So, good morning. I have some birthday greetings. I wanted to say something before I did the birthday greetings, but I can't remember what it is. I will get to it. Clint Batiste, counselor in the Port of Spain Corporation. Today is his birthday, and he's an ardent fan of our show. And he may not be up as yet. Clint is a pan man, and of course he is campaigning. So happy birthday, Clint. He is 32 years old today. Clint is now in the council. Clint was the youngest councillor ever in the city of Port of Spain when he came in, going on 9 years ago. So which means he came in, I think, at age 23, if I'm not mistaken. All right, Brennan Surrender Patterson. He was a councillor in the Arima Borough Corporation. Happy birthday, Brennan. Happy birthday to Chad Harrington and Shireen Ali Alexander. Shireen is the sister of Councillor Jamil Biznat. So she is celebrating her birthday today. Shireen lives abroad. Lyndon Bartholomew from Cocorit. He is a serving member of the TTDF, Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. Sharifa Holbrook and Roger Baruch. They are all celebrating birthdays today. Have an absolutely fantastic day.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's good to celebrate with friends and family. You know, some people are big on celebrating their birthdays. And you know, there are two types. Some are big on it and they really like celebrating their birthdays. And then there's that group that is big on celebrating their birthday and they let you know it in advance. That I'm celebrating my birthday and you are to treat me or, you know, hang out with me, whatever. And then there's some people just, you know, if you didn't know it was their birthday, they're not even telling you. You have to know it's their birthday because it will just pass like another ordinary day to them.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have difference. I'm somewhere in between there.
Me too. Sorry, Sir Charles?
And I said, and then there are some people who don't tell you, remind you, just waiting to see if you'll forget.
Yeah, and hold it against you. You're right.
You forget my birthday.
You're right. I'm not very big on birthdays, but most times I travel for my birthday. I plan a trip around the time of my birthday and I travel. As a matter of fact, I normally travel for Easter. And this is the first Easter I'm in Trinidad. Because the last 2 trips were to Europe, Easter, to London, Amsterdam, Belgium, Germany, Scotland, all those places out there. So I'm not traveling this Easter. So let me greet some people on the line before Richard gets the good news segment in.
Yeah, we do some good news.
Yeah. Boy Bidesi from Debe, good morning. Boy, he is now a number 1 fan these days. Suzanne Jessup, David Ware says, morning, all have a safe day. Melissa from Charfleur, Ingrid from Tucson, Arizona, Brent Hackshaw, great interview yesterday, guys. Rena Boudou Jennings, good morning. Siobhan Shogun, Marcia Rock, Dwayne Sylvester, that's a new name. He's locked on from St. Vincent. Welcome, Dwayne. Slick Money Grip, good morning. Marlon Motley, good morning. Curtis Patrick, good morning. Is that Mr. Patrick? Is that his name?
You ask these kind of questions that nobody can answer. You know that, right?
It's rhetorical, but somebody can answer.
Yeah, it's that kind of, it's that kind of old people thing is do, right?
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, now you know.
Now I know. Now you know. Now you know what you do. Carol Guevara, good morning. Island Girl also, good morning. Good morning, the gentlemen. The theme song is lit.
Yeah.
Wayne Ramsey says good morning. Beauty Culture, Michael. Okay, Michael is pretending to be an agent provocateur. Jasojo Ramlakan says good morning. Cheryl Johnson, good morning. CJ from New York. Chris Tusa, good morning, neighbors. Patricia Defoe. Steph says good morning, guys. Andre Reno and Steph says, Papa be doing, boy.
Can I get to the good news? So good morning to everyone on the stream. Of course, you can get us on YouTube, Facebook, on the internet stream, and some people apparently can get us on smart devices. I'm not so sure yet about that process, but we will work it out. But YouTube and Facebook for sure, you can watch us, and of course, you can get the stream on TuneIn, so you can listen to us via TuneIn on New Era TT Radio. Of course, please subscribe and like, especially like on YouTube. It's important for the algorithm. Just letting you know, and of course, subscribe.
Well, Richard, the last message may answer your question. We could ask Michael, how is he listening? He says he's new to the show, listening from offshore on a drilling jackup rig for BPTT. Maybe we could ask him.
But he can be rigs have an internet, so he could be watching us on YouTube.
Okay, all right.
But I mean, he can answer the question. But let's get into our good news, because we like to start off with something positive about Trinidad and Tobago or the world at large. Just to lift our spirits that good things are happening. So you may be wondering who this guy is. So I'll tell you. His name is Dylan Decoto, and he is apparently, until somebody says otherwise, Dylan is the first person from Trinidad and Tobago to visit every country in the world.
Whoa.
Almost all of his travels are done using airline frequent flyer points. He's now considering continuing to travel to non-UN countries and territories. His final country was Sudan. So you're seeing the Sudan Red Sea Resort in the background there. And so, it's a wonderful achievement. I mean, to travel to every part of the planet, that's incredible. To all of the countries across the planet. And so we want to say a big round of applause, I guess, to Dylan Decoto the first Trinidadian to do that.
That's something like actual applause to me.
Yeah. So,
Well done.
congrats, Dylan.
I
That's how you do it, Sir Charles.
I recently actually did a map of places that I've visited. I think I've covered 32 countries and quite over 50 cities I've had. But that's an achievement. How many countries we talking about here, Richard? Does the article say?
If it's all of the UN countries, I guess it's like, how much countries in the UN? About 200, not so?
Wow. That is an achievement.
So that's an achievement. So that's our good news for today, Dylan Dikoto.
All right. Well done. That's probably it. All right. Special voting has started.
I guess it would have. Well, I don't know. I don't know when that starts. You should know.
I think it has. Just Soja Ramlakan is saying, I think something, I guess that's what they're saying. Special voting has started. Oh, I have another birthday to add. I have to go through my phone. Today is the birthday of Jaron John Joseph. His father is 83 years old today, and his father his name is John Joseph. So happy birthday,
Senior, John Joseph Senior.
Yeah, John Joseph Senior. Happy birthday from your son and of course from us on the Power Breakfast Show. You know why I asked about special voting, Richard?
Why?
Because apparently, and I sent it in the group chat. We are hoping that let me leave that one alone.
That's another thing old people do too.
No. No, there's a particular person who has a matter in the United States of America, and the date of the matter is April 28th. A particular person who is on the opposition platform. The matter is
right. I saw what you said. Yeah.
Right. The matter in the United States is on the 28th. I'm hoping that they would have registered and be able to vote as a special elector, but it definitely ain't gonna be in the country on that date.
Well, I'm of the opinion, Wendell, that Trinidadians and Tobagonians across the planet, wherever you are, should be able to vote. At respective embassies and stuff like that, or however they do it. I mean, I know the Americans do it, and I know other countries do it. That you can vote at the respective high commission or embassy. And I don't believe that Trinidadians and Tobagonians should be disenfranchised merely because you're not in the physical space of Trinidad and Tobago during the election. I believe that right should go with you, and you should be able to vote because that will jump the amount of votes by, hundreds of thousands, because there's so many Trinidadians outside of Trinidad and Tobago. But certainly that's something that I find should be done. That you should be able to vote. Maybe when the process gets more and more digital, maybe they will consider it so that because we should get to a point where you should be able to vote from your phone, in my opinion. That's what I believe.
One kind of dangerous, huh?
That's another old people. That's another old people statement. So you
know what the old people habit? Listen to young people or listen to other old people and coming up with ideas. And you just gave the poll. Should Trinidadians be allowed to vote from any part of the world? That will be our poll. Look at that.
Yeah, but it's a possible poll. We can do that as a poll. So
Michael confirmed that special voting has begun because he voted already. All right, because he won't be coming home. He won't be coming home until, I guess, Tuesday after the election. All right. And Bumati says good morning, and Chef Joanne, all the way from Brooklyn in New York, says, why isn't Sir Charles on camera as well? Sir Charles, you want to answer
that? Right now, I have to work on on my virtual background. I've just switched places, you see. So yeah.
Charles, that is a poor excuse because I am guilty of not having a virtual background for so long. I finally get one, and I did it all on my own.
Yeah.
Hey,
He just does the one thing. All you had to say was, Charles, I prefer not to be on camera.
all right. I prefer not to be uncovered.
That's all you have to say.
Thank you very much.
Nobody
Or
can.
you
Nobody
be a
can
little
argue
more-
with that. They
You
can
can be a
just say
little more
that.
controversial, Charles. You can be a little more controversial and say, "Well, I know my place."
Yeah. And that's true.
Ah! Oh my God. So the breakfast show, of course, we're getting into headlines, and then we'll take some of your calls and get a little interactive with you. Of course, I know on the front page, I'm just looking at well, certainly the Daily Express. It starts off the headlines with PNM jams Jeremy. Now we did reach out to John Jeremy, senior counsel, to join the program this morning. He did acknowledge, and I know I suppose he is considering it. I don't know if he will do it or not, but I did reach out to him last night. He did respond, but he didn't commit that he will come onto the program this morning. So we'll see if he will or not. I mean, if he does, we can have some discourse with him, not only on crossing to the other party, but where does he see the politics at this point, Trinidad and Tobago at this point? What motivated his decision, things like that. So we can get him on. If not today, we'll see. I will still try and continue to reach out to him to see if we can get him on. But certainly, he is on he's on the front page of the Daily Express this morning. Concerning the issue of now joining the UNC platform.
Yeah. And we also reached out. I also reached out to Minister Faris Al-Rawi, who had a lot to say about John Jeremy. I'm sure you all would have seen it yesterday, an interview with Faris Al-Rawi. He had a lot to say. I did also reach out to him, and we reached out to Marvin Gonzalez. So we hoping, if you're listening this morning, I know a lot of these guys are in the campaign, so they're not early morning people. A lot of the ministers and even candidates, because I also reached out to Vandana Mohit, the UNC candidate for Shabwana. She follows me. And but a lot of them are campaigning, so they may not be early morning people. And they certainly may not want to come on camera like say Charles on an early morning. But we'll see. We'll try. We're gonna keep trying during the course of this hour. If not, well, you'll be our interviewees. That's all.
Lots of you all have lots of opinions about what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago. As we head towards, elections is heating up. This is the final week that we're coming to. I don't know how much of a break there's going to be over the Easter weekend. I don't think any party has said anything formally. I know today at 1:30 p.m. the People's National Movement is
launching their
manifesto at Balize House. I don't know if we can get a rep from the breakfast show to be there. Not me. But
what time?
At 1:30.
No, I won't be able to make that.
Why, Wendell? What you doing at 1:30 in the afternoon?
Court.
Oh, okay. You always in some bacchanal. But
you know that.
Yeah.
You know that.
I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but
good to see one.
It'll be good. I would need to get the manifesto. I hope it's going to be in digital form too, because they did send me a media invite. So it'll be interesting to see what their manifesto says. So I'll see if I get a digital copy, or see if you must get a digital copy, Wendell. You in the bowels of the PNM.
Yeah, I'll get one.
After Stuart Young gets one, and two other people you fought.
Richard Raghubasing, I accept your prophetic words. I accept it with grace.
So we can send it. So we can go through the manifesto. Give you some idea of what the manifesto says tomorrow morning. And it'll be good to go to see if we can get some people to come on to discuss the manifesto on the morning show tomorrow. Even though tomorrow our guest will be Gary Griffith from the National Transformation Alliance. He has agreed that he'll come on tomorrow at 7 in the 7 to 8 hour to discuss the NTE. And Gary is never short of words.
Never.
In terms of what he has to say about the politics and about where the NTA stands as we head to the final countdown, the final week countdown before the general elections on the 28th of April. So let me get into the headlines quickly so we can take some calls before we go to our morning poll. So our headlines this morning: What are the major stories, according to editors of our 3 daily newspapers? What are the headlines on our daily newspapers this morning? I'm about to tell you. Here we go. Daily Express. Well, I already gave a sense of what's there. PNM jams Jeremy. That's the headline on the Daily Express this morning. Rowley pours scorn on former PNM AG endorsing UNC. He left trail of blunders. That's what apparently Dr. Rowley said. And there's a picture of John Jeremy, basically, senior counsel. And on the back page of the Daily Express, Erla must wait. Judgment delayed in legal challenge against the Police Service Commission. Investigators heading back to DPP this week. That comes across a little chaotic to me.
A little
chaotic to me. That whole issue with Erla. It just comes across chaotic. And maybe it's not, but it comes across that way. It comes across like, can we charge her? Can we not charge her? Should we charge her? Should we not charge her? Do we have enough to charge her? We want to charge her, but we have enough? You know, it comes across like that.
Well, Richard, finally, the TTPS actually do it to one of their own. And the commissioner to boot. Finally, you know, because the among the citizens went through that nonsense with the TTPS do there. The among the citizens. They finally did it to their own.
You mean so that one of their own is understanding what rank and file
citizens understand it because she's a career police officer.
Yeah, because some people have seen it as being a power grab. We don't know that it's that, but some people have, you know, Trinidadians and Tobagonians are not short of opinions. So some people see it as that, some people see it as a vendetta, some people see it as, you know, all manner of things. Because, and you know why you have all of these conspiracy theories erupting? Because it comes across chaotic.
It's incompetence. That's what it is.
Go back to the DPP, come back. Are you going to charge her? We're not sure if we're going to charge her. So that kind of vacillating is not
helpful. I have no sympathy. None. If I sound bitter, it's because maybe I am.
That's another thing old people say. You're a relative old people form today, boy.
Boy.
So TNT revenue has rebounded, according to Colm Imber. On the economy, Trinidad and Tobago's economy is not in bad shape at all. Public Utilities Minister Colm Imber has said. Imber said that government revenue has rebounded significantly in recent years. Speaking at the South Turning ceremony for the Santa Cruz water treatment plant at Saddle Road, Santa Cruz yesterday, Imber said the economy's economic performance has improved even without contributions from the Dragon and Manatee gas field. Well, all that is part of the electioneering process going on there. So, I just quoted him from, you know, the Express has news front and back. And the main sports stories in the Daily Express, cricket's Olympic return confirmed, Team TTO hailed for elite performances, and top cyclists set to clash at Grand Prix. Let me get to the next
day. They are nothing on the character games that's starting this weekend in Trinidad.
I just finished with the Express. Let me get to the Guardian, please.
No, but the Express don't have that?
The Express is a little confusing with sports. It's not you have to go into the papers to get the sports. So whatever my eye drops on, that's what I read it. Trinidad and Tobago Guardian, UNC raises red flag, complains special voting process, complains about special voting process in sorry, I'm wrong. Complains special voting process in Sando East tainted. I don't know in what regard, but there is a picture of UNC San Fernando East campaign manager Wendy Lewis. PNM slams Jeremy for switching to UNC, so that's also on the front page. DCP Martin heads back to DPP on Erla probe, and 1 million reasons to smile. Republic Bank Exodus Steel Band Orchestra member Jerk Williams left. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, ma'am. Collects the $1 million winner's check for the 2025 Panorama Large Conventional Band category from Randall Mitchell, of course, the Minister of Culture and Tourism. Back page. Back page, game on. Footballers paid 50% salary. So that's on. Let me go inside to see if there's anything about the Crifter game, since Wendell is insistent that is major sports news. Oh, well, no, look, there is something that Crifter games, 2 days to go. The countdown. It's 2 days to go before.
Yeah.
So that's there. The Newsday today, front page. CXC makes major shift in subjects. CSEC and CAPE revised. That's the main headline. The main picture, keeping it fresh. Vendor Jenny Jordan sprays water on fish at a stall at the San Grande Market on April 15th. You know, a lot of fish will be eaten this weekend.
Yes.
A lot of fish.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, saltfish, though.
All sorts of fish will be eaten this weekend.
I ain't got the thing on Khadija. I mean, yet with the saltfish comment, you know.
Yeah, the Caribbean Sea collectively groans when it's Easter time and say, oh God, it's Easter. They want to eat us.
Yes.
Arawi, Jeremy has lost his way. That's on the front page also. And on the back page, TT jumper high on team's chances at Crifter Games. A medal from every athlete. You're also seeing some swimmers. TT swim coach Darren Sam Lal Singh looks on as athletes trainer at the National Aquatic Center. The National Aquatic Center is a place I've never gone. And we remember when we always planning to go. I don't think he went yet.
Never gone.
I've never gone. And it looks like an impressive facility. And we just have never gone to that. So maybe we could make try and go when the Crifter games are on.
Yeah.
You could make a line. You could drive. And
don't die always. Don't die always.
We can take some footage that we can share with a lot of our viewers and listeners who have never been to the Aquatic Center in Cuba. Ghana whipped TT under 15s by 6 wickets. Oh, man. So that's it for our 3 dailies this morning. And of course, before we get into our morning poll this morning, which we'll start taking votes maybe around 10 to the hour. We can open up our lines at this point, I guess, and we can take some of your calls and get a little interactive with our listeners who joined us early o'clock this morning. Let me get to our usual ticker tape so you can see our information. Reminding you, of course, to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for YouTube. Trust me, liking the stream helps us in the algorithm. It's always about algorithm in streams. So like and subscribe. And for those of you who are watching, why don't I play this? All right. So we take some of your calls. 281-1315. You have any calls on the line yet, Sir Charles?
Yes, we do actually. Good morning to you, caller.
Good morning, Sir Charles.
Good morning.
Brand new day.
Brand new day.
Brand new day indeed it is.
Good morning, Richard, and good morning to Wendell.
Good morning.
Right in Davide. And guess what? The sun is out brightly. So nice outside. So, you know something? I heard something I just sent a message to Sir Charles to ask you all, but I say I get a chance to call, let me call. Did you all hear a statement the Doma president made, Mr. Gregory Aboud?
No, I didn't hear it.
You all heard that statement? I heard it on a newscast yesterday, and I was like, what? Exactly what Mr. Aboud was in my head for the last 4 years when they started to talk about his 1%. Mr. Gregory Aboud said something yesterday. I think you all should get it, and ask him for a comment too. I heard, just a little part of it, a snippet of it, and exactly what Mr. Aboud said, and what I heard, I've been saying that for the last 3 to 4 years. About what they say, always talk about the 1%. He was adamant that he is from Trinidad and Tobago. And if the other supermarkets, like, he called names, I don't want to call names, but those supermarkets, like, I'll call one name, like Naipaul, meaning that there are supermarket owners who are of Indian descent. If they could have business in this country, he's asking, so what happened to us? We were born here. And I totally agree. Just as people of African descent, we were born here. So what it is with this 1% thing? And every time I talk about and I hear that people talk about 1%, I get very angry because I know these they because they are not of the same color as some of us, right? They are employing thousands of people, especially single women. And guess what? The unions and Mr. Roger is guilty of this, always crying only 1%. But when his workers get a back pay, guess where they go first? The same place or the same people who own the 1% stores for their workers, they buy new curtain, buying fresh TV. Who owns these stores? The same 1%. So if you're talking about they have money, they're rich, this, that. Who get them that place? Who gave them that? Again,
Ms. Dabadi, you know what that is?
Hmm?
It's the same thing like what's happening in America and some of the other parts of the world. Do buying all these designer clothes and designer bags and all kind. Guess where it's coming from? All coming from China.
China.
And it's always on the back
China.
of Chinese products. Every
Exactly.
single thing coming from China.
And I'm like to tell you, every time I hear this thing, I feel something in my chest, worse than some things that I should feel so about. So, I mean, if you could get me Sabun anytime, this one, you don't have to be for the 45 minutes or so, just for a few 15 minutes. I would love to hear it. And if you all didn't hear it, try and get a read or call them and find out. Thank you all.
No problem.
Okay, Dabadi, thank you very much. 2811315. We are taking your calls. Get connected. Good morning to you, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Concerning the 1% has
You're sounding a little soft this morning, Miss Sampson. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. These people, I remember spending some time in Mayaro because Daddy used to work in the oil company. And they used to pass with a panel van and they used to sell the cloth, the trust the cloth this weekend and next weekend they pass for the cash. They didn't just come rich just so they work hard. I remember them very well. They here from since I talking about I was up there about 6, 7 years. They work hard to get where they were, so people shouldn't envy them now. Some people just want to sit and get everything in the lab. They really, really work hard. Anyhow, concerning the politics, how so many people could vote for someone, I'm fed up repeat this, for someone that says party or dead and they don't care about country. So you want to tell me everybody that's wearing yellow, they don't care about Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I would doubt that very much. I'm sure a lot of people disagreed when Mrs. Prasad Bissessa made that statement. A lot of people in her own party disagreed.
But why back someone? Why back someone that don't care about the country? Didn't she try to get the place sanctioned? She always washing the dirty linens abroad. That is not somebody to be a prime minister. Like Misery really love company.
Okay.
You all have a wonderful day. I'm fed up with this politics. I can't wait for it to over.
Yep.
Okay, thanks very much, Miss Sampson. Is it that she actually said she didn't care about the country? What was the statement, Wendell?
He said party before country, and if something to the words, if you don't subscribe to party before country, then go to hell.
Yeah, but what was?
Play that, I'm sure I can say that. Somebody can send that for me.
Yeah, but what was the context? What is the context that was being said?
It was the context of the people the dissidents who were leaving and who were criticizing her at the point in time. Oh. You understand?
In
other words, what they were doing was harming the party more than anything else.
Right.
All
right. Yeah. Well, that's I say. Context is very important. Hi. Good morning to you, caller.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to the good man on the breakfast show.
Good morning.
I honestly do not know why would an opposition party vying to be in government would be supporting that phrase about the 1%. These are the people who may possibly have the greatest influence on the population. And I don't understand what kind of strategy that is. but it's their choice, and I don't think they can win with that strategy. And another note, gentlemen, when are we going to have a gender balance on that program? I mean,
we will get on it. We will get on it. We still only 2 weeks old.
I'm just throwing that out, you know. All right.
All right.
Good day. I'm listening.
Okay.
Great program. Thanks.
But he say he want a gender balance or something.
Yeah, we first had to find a woman who willing to do something without being paid. I don't know that any such exists.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. The context in which the statement was made was she was speaking to Vasan Bharat, who apparently made the statement you had to care about your country before party. And she replied to Vasan Bharat and said, if your policy is country before party, then go to hell. Okay,
it was Vasan Bharat she was referring to?
Yes, you want to run this you want to run this you want to take over this party, and your policy is country before party, then go to hell. That's the whole context and where the conversation was, the statement was made.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, thanks, Fudge.
Yeah, but we hopefully will have Vasan Bharat. I spoke to him yesterday, and he said he will try and come on next week because he's out of the country right now. But I did speak to him yesterday about coming onto the program. So
let me say good morning also to Sabita Biase, Maureen Dilchan Maharaj, who has joined us, Champion of Democracy, Child of God, Bumati. Who else new joined us? Far Rockaway also says good morning. Okay, right. They were hustlers from a long time. Doreen Pierre says good morning, and that's it. And DL, of course, joined us also. All right.
Caller online.
Good morning, caller.
Hold on. Okay. Right. Good morning, caller. Caller, good morning.
Hi, good morning to the best men on online radio, Sir Charles, Richard, and Wendell. Just for a good morning. I hope you all have a blessed, beautiful day today. Everything good with you all?
We are
good.
United this morning.
Who's acknowledging my beauty there?
Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne.
How are you going, darling?
We good. Thanks so much.
Good morning. I just love to see you all. Right. Especially Sir Charles.
Oh, I guess.
So you'll have a wonderful, beautiful day, darling.
Thanks very much, Suzanne. All the best to you.
Organize a picture of Sir Charles for that slot there now. Put up a little picture of him now. For that third slot there.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do that in the meantime. Hi, good morning to you, caller.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Captain Ron.
Morning.
How are you guys going? Morning. That statement there, I mean, I don't know whether she said it to whoever she said it to. She should not be saying it in the first place. Kamala reminds me of the two ladies in the Bible with the one baby died and the other one says she wants the baby to be cut in two. That's Kamala. As the lady said yesterday, she was willing to get the country's sanction. So she doesn't care. Kamala has no business being running to be president or prime minister. She has no business. So I don't see where it makes it better or not. To who she said it to. She made the statement shouldn't be made. So in other words, cut the country in two. As long as if I don't get my way with it. Kamala has disqualified herself. Anyway, gentlemen, have a good day.
Okay, thanks very much, Captain Ron. Yeah.
Oh, Richard, I didn't know I could do this too.
Have you investigated anything about what you do on mornings from 6 to 8?
No, I didn't know I could do it.
Thank you.
Listen, I've always been subservient on the breakfast show, you know.
Yeah.
Let me say good morning to Slick Money Group on very early also, G&C Auto Security, and of course to Black Pearl. Yeah, people on our WhatsApp.
And good morning to Riri and Sean Victor. They also joined us lately.
So I mean, we have the possibility of the poll that you said, Wendell. Should TNT nationals be able to vote wherever they are? That's a poll, or we could do a John Jeremy poll. Which one you prefer?
Well, which one? What do you want to say ask about John Jeremy? What do you want to find out about John Jeremy?
Analysts are saying that
what do you want to find out about John Jeremy that you don't know?
No, let me. But I'm telling you how a Jeremy poll could be phrased. Analysts are saying Jeremy's UNC backing may impact polls.
Okay,
so
well,
that's one of the headlines there. So either should TNT nationals be able to vote wherever they are, or the John Jeremy poll. Which one you think?
No, let's do the John Jeremy poll, because we could always ask that question later down.
Okay.
Let's do the John Jeremy poll. If they think that, because we would have asked it about Larry Lala, didn't we? So let's ask the John Jeremy poll. Do you think his crossing to the UNC would impact the polls? All right. Yes or no? That's what we'll ask. But you know what I want to read? Because this is why I messaged Vandana Mohit, right? Because she put out a notice yesterday, Tuesday, that says statement from the UNC Chaguanas East constituency campaign team. Now, this is on her status, so I know it's real, right? The UNC Chaguanas East constituency campaign team wishes to inform constituents that there will be no mass motorcade organized and conducted in the lead up to the 2025 general elections. This decision reflects our commitment to a focused and respectful campaign, allowing for more direct engagement with every member of our community. We wish to reiterate that we continue empowering lives and strengthening communities. When UNC wins, everybody wins. That's a statement from Vandana Mohit, who's the candidate for the UNC for Chaguanas East. When I saw it, I was impressed, because I'm saying that this is the first UNC candidate, as far as I'm aware, who is endeavoring to have a respectful campaign. Because that campaign, the UNC, that national campaign, the UNC running there, using them I don't even know how to describe them. I saw one yesterday that Gavin Walter shared. The boy can't even speak properly. And they are using this to cuss, as according to them, black people and PNM black people. How they could think that that's the effective campaign, I don't even know. Are you talking about the social media influencers? Yeah, but I don't even know him. It's like any and everybody now putting out a video and talking the crap. I'm not even sure them people being paid. I am parting with my money for that.
The poll is up. You decided on the poll already, right?
Yeah, we have the poll up, Sir Charles.
All right, you have a caller there. Caller, good morning.
Right. Good morning. So I can't say my piece.
And Finbar Collins, you might be right. Maybe that's why she put it up. Because there was a video of some of her campaign supporters roughing up a guy in a car. So
we have the caller inside. Caller, go ahead. Say a piece quick, and then you can answer the poll.
Yeah, morning. Oh gosh, I want to agree with Ms. Saruka, when she talk about the 1%. I don't know why people going on with that damn nonsense, and they employ most of the young black people who have 2 or 3 subjects and want a little end. They employ a lot of people, and as the things say, they're born here, mighty Trinity tired to sing about that and talk about it. They come just like everybody else, so they have to stop the damn nonsense. You understand?
Right.
Yeah, and to the poll, I could have said more, but let me just concentrate on the poll for now. What it says.
You want to vote? Do you believe that John Jeremy, senior counsel, crossing over to the UNC will impact the polls? Yes or no?
Hell no. That will impact your own damn self.
All right.
Was an aggressive answer, boy.
Yes.
You sound like the former PM.
That poll wake up, Wendell.
Yeah, it wake up.
Yeah. So apparently, the declaration of former People's National Movement Attorney General John Jeremy that he will be voting for the UNC on April 28th will have an impact on the polls, according to analysts. The daily newspaper spoke to analyst Dr. Winford James, Dr. Mukesh Basdew, as well as economist Dr. Indira Sajawan, yesterday by phone on the stunning political development. They were unanimous in the view that Jeremy's endorsement of the UNC leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar as Prime Minister carries weight, given that he held the second highest position in the cabinet after the Prime Minister and was also a PNM loyalist. So that's where our poll has come from. Do you believe, and well, do you agree with those analysts? Do you believe that John Jeremy, senior counsel, crossing over to the UNC will impact the polls? And meaning impact the polls in favor of the UNC and to the detriment of the PNM. That's our poll this morning. What says you?
Brent Hackshaw says no. Dwayne Sylvester says no, not at all. Cheryl Henry, she didn't vote. Champion of Democracy didn't vote. Gregory Boyer says no. The Allen Project says no. Well, he didn't answer. He didn't vote. Stephen Harper says no. Hey, morning, Stephen. You're up early? I ain't St. James already. Well, I ain't go Arima last night.
Hey, and the poll results. Not personal message time.
Champion of Democracy, Child of God says yes. Why aren't you all voting? RJ says no. Andre Reno says no. Just Soja, you didn't vote. Rena Budu Jennings says no. Steph says no. Champion of God, you voted already. Slick Money Grip says no. Siobhan Shogun says no. Carol Guevara says no. Melissa says no. So Charles, you have any?
Yeah, I have to, and a caller also. Caller, good morning.
Good morning. I said no, but what was the reason? You all should say that what was the reason he moved across? But no is my answer.
He didn't give one. He didn't publicly give one, that is.
Well, he says, why am I disgusted by PNM? That's one of the newspaper articles this morning. So former Attorney General John Jeremy is disgusted by then Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley increasing his salary and to take $1 million back pay and generous pension before demitting office while giving workers a mere 4%. He said so yesterday in defense of his shocking move on Monday night to publicly endorse UNC leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar and his intent to cast his vote for the party on the April 28th general election. He told the newspaper in a telephone interview yesterday that it is frightening that the PNM abuses the authority of the state to persecute and prosecute people. Asked by the newspaper what was the breaking point that led him to endorse Persad-Bissessar as prime minister, he said there were a number of things and disclosed that he resigned from the PNM in May 2024. That resignation was prompted because I thought that the party had abandoned its founding principles and I felt that it had lost its way and there was no prospect of finding it.
That is the same month. That is the same month. You remember I read an article yesterday? That is the same month that he had to withdraw his candidacy for a Court of Appeal judge. He resigned from the PNM that same month. Thank you for reading that. Ron DeSantis says no. Sabita BSA says hell no. DL says no, but UNC is winning. The Mrs. R says no. Jasoja Ramlakan says yes. Julia Batiste says no. Island Girl says no. Far Rockaway says yes. Cheryl Henry says no. Miguel Gonzalez says no. What did I click on there?
Let me just take this caller very quickly. Caller, good morning.
Good morning. Stoops. No, he's just another wandering political opportunist gypsy like Winston Gypsy Peters. No.
All right. Alistair Hart says no. Misha Belmonte says no. Cheryl Henry said, I said hell no. Okay. Ambrose Blanc says no. All right.
Blackpool says no. Blackpool says no. Captain Ron says no. Robert Taylor says no.
Yeah.
You're blocking the poll, Wendell.
Sorry. I don't know what. Okay. All right.
Dabadi says no.
I'm touching to scroll up, and that's what happening. I'm touching the screen to scroll up.
We understand, and we will guide you, as you know.
As we get ready to go up to the news time, let's take this final caller. Caller, good morning to you.
Morning, Charles. So Charles.
Morning, Mr. Patrick.
Yeah, morning. If one man crossing the floor could be the whole outcome of a general election, something wrong with our country.
I don't think he's the whole. I don't think he's the whole outcome of the election. But can he impact the election?
Yeah.
Either you win or you lose.
Yeah.
So you're saying no?
If he impact the election, win or lose. If one man crossing a floor could do that, something wrong with your country.
I will take that as a
no. That's a no, right, Mr. Patrick?
As a no, right?
Yeah, I know.
All right, okay, no problem. Thank you very much.
RJ asked the question this morning. RJ asked a question. Isn't the UNC also getting the pay rise? That I'm using my words. Isn't the UNC not getting pay raise also? So isn't the UNC also benefiting from this pay rise?
The opposition, you mean? Yes.
The opposition, yes.
Yes.
Right. Maureen Dilchan Marad says no also. Right.
All right. Well, anybody else that we have, we'll probably have to take them out.
Breakfast. If anybody.
All right, so you can continue to vote on the poll during our news, and when we come back, we'll give you the final results. Of course, there's the poll. Before I take it down, do you believe that John Jeremy Senior Counsel crossing over to the UNC will impact the polls? Of course, we're still trying to get onto John Jeremy to speak with us on the breakfast show, so he can tell you himself why he did it.
It is instructive, Richard Raghubar Singh, that John Jeremy, anybody in the area, bring breakfast to me. It is instructive that John Jeremy resigned from the PNM the same month the article came out on him stepping aside from being a Court of Appeal judge because of a special branch investigation into him. It is very instructive. You said.
Is that the talking point from the PNM on this subject?
This is my talking point.
So I'm like a talking point.
You're trying to silence me? You're trying to silence me?
Let's go for the news.
You're playing what he named. You're playing what he named this morning. Huh?
Who's what he named?
We will be back in a short time.
You're playing what he named in between there. Huh?
Guys, we're going for the news.
All right, Charlie.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
In the news now. Had he been alive today, Bastio Pandey would have been heartbroken by what has happened to his beloved Couva North constituency. This, according to his daughter Michaela Pandey, political leader of the Patriotic Front and candidate for Couva North in the April 28th general election. Pandey was speaking at a public meeting on Sunday at the Twin Walls compound, Gulf View, San Fernando. Referring to a walkabout in the constituency following Palm Sunday celebrations, she said, "To see what Couva North has become would have broken my father's heart. There is nothing there. The people are completely neglected." Bastio Pandey had served the constituency of Couva North from 1976 until 2010. The founder of the United National Congress, UNC, died in January 2024. In the April 28th general election, his daughter will contest the seat against the UNC's Jillian John and the People's National Movement, PNM, Brent Marriage. Pandey said on Sunday that beyond the infrastructural woes affecting the community, there were youths who were unable to gain employment. These, she said, would focus on the development of safe zones achieved through full partnerships between law enforcement, social workers, and upstanding members of the community, unleashing the potential of San Fernando through investment in small businesses. the rebuilding of manufacturing bases and the development of new industries, and the development of food security as national defense by transforming agriculture into an economic powerhouse through modernized farming and supporting local farmers with access to credit and technology. She said many young people she has met say, "Miss Pandey, I have a master's. I've been home for 4 years. I did a teacher's training degree. I've been waiting 10 years." While the Kuva North seat was considered a safe constituency for the UNC, she said that of the 30,000 constituents, more people did not vote than voted. Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar says no other political leader vying for leadership on April 28th can compare to her. She said she paved the way for her climb to the top, one step at a time, and paid her just dues, while others either got their positions through nepotism, favoritism, name recognition, from their daddy or maybe purchasing it. From nepotism and favoritism, never hard work and sacrifice, she told her audience at a United National Congress, UNC, meeting in her constituency of Siparia at Bupsing Park, Penal, on April 14th. Our country is not that of a kingdom. This is a democracy and leaders must be elected. A leader who was gifted their position will never look out for your interest. Unlike them, she said she was a little coolie girl from Penal who nobody knew my name. Before her rise as an MP, Attorney General, Education Minister, Prime Minister and opposition leader, through sheer will, resilience and love for people. What are the track records of people-centered achievements of the other leaders of the political parties? There is a difference between leaders and one who is anointed, she said, referring to Prime Minister Stuart Young, who was appointed by his predecessor Dr. Keith Rowley when he resigned. She compared Young's appointment to graduates who study for years but cannot get a job, yet unqualified people acquire the position because of who they know. Many of you know about working hard for a promotion, and someone else gets it because they have connections. They have name. Those are the experiences that many of us have shared. She inquired of the others in the race for leadership, what have they done in their lives that proves that they are indeed, as they say, responsible? She said Young and his government have lost touch with the people, were unaware of the problems they face daily, and cannot identify with their needs and wants or improve their lives. And former Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi says his predecessor John Jeremy has questions to answer about legal matters he was prosecuting with respect to the opposition UNC and other matters he was involved in before he mounted a political platform in Penal on April 14th to publicly endorse UNC leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Al-Rawi said Jeremy has lost his way, has no influence in the PNM, and the UNC's attempts to use him to persuade people to vote for it are destined to fail. He made these comments to the media before a key distribution ceremony for starter homes at Bayshore, Marabella, on April 15th. Al-Rawi said, "As the former Attorney General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago myself for 7 years, and as the person who is still managing the Piarco Airport inquiry matter, I was shocked to see John Jeremy on a UNC platform because of the record in court, the record on parliaments, Hansard, and the record in public, is that Mr. Jeremy prosecuted the criminality and allegations against the UNC. He added, I say criminality because people went to jail in the USA, and I say allegations with respect to matters that are before the courts at present. Jeremy, Al-Rawi continued, is the subject of a Privy Council condemnation in relation to the Chief Magistrate, Marcia Ayres Caesar, matter. In a ruling on March 24th, the Privy Council affirmed that Ayres Caesar was wrongfully pressured into resigning by the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, JLSC, led by Chief Justice Ivor Archie, declaring her removal unconstitutional. Jeremy reportedly served as an attorney to Archie for part of that matter. Al-Rawi said, but he is the man who prosecuted that there were allegations of significant corruption, which is before the courts right now. So I will be very careful how I speak about that against people that he stood up on a platform last night representing, the UNC. He added while Jeremy was promoting the UNC, some people in the UNC were in fact in the UNC government, 1995 to 2001, against whom allegations stood. Al-Rawi identified Persad-Bissessar, who served as Attorney General for part of that period, as one of those people. At a PNM meeting in San Fernando on April 2nd, Al-Rawi criticized the UNC's handling of the Piarco case. He accused the UNC of derailing investigations during Persad-Bissessar's tenure as AG and later as Prime Minister, 2010 to 2015. Al-Rawi referred to the controversial Section 34 of the Administration of Justice Act, which he claimed could have allowed people implicated in the Piarco scandal to escape justice. Despite its repeal following public outrage, Al-Rawi said 7 people in a U.S. court had already entered guilty pleas in a U.S. court related to the scandal. Al-Rawi reminded PNM supporters about government's pursuit of the matter in the U.S. resulted in the securing of a judgment worth $1.3 billion in T&T's favor. He claimed this progress could be undone if the UNC wins on April 28th. TT Post has announced the delivery of poll cards for the April 28th general election began on April 15th. In a statement, TT Post said it received poll cards from the Elections and Boundaries Commission, EBC, on April 14th. The company advised its customers to check their mailboxes in the coming days for them. These poll cards contain important information regarding your registration details and polling station. TT Post advised its customers to communicate with the EBC directly via its website or customer service channels with respect to any questions about the information on their poll cards. The company said it remains committed to supporting the democratic process through the timely and secure delivery of election materials. Prime Minister Stuart Young announced the election date on March 18th, one day after he was sworn in. The EBC has estimated 1,154,708 people are registered to vote in the election. The commission said 17 political parties and 3 independent candidates will contest the election. The PNM is the only one of the 17 parties which has a candidate in each of the 41 constituencies in Trinidad and Tobago. The Patriotic Front, led by Michael Aponde, has the second highest number of candidates, 37. The opposition UNC is fielding 34 candidates. The UNC is contesting the election in a coalition which includes trade unions, Congress of the People, COP, and the Progressive Empowerment Party, PEP. Since the coalition is not a registered political party, the non-UNC members of the coalition that are fielding candidates are counted separately and not together with bona fide UNC candidates. The PEP and COP have 3 and 2 candidates respectively facing the polls. The 3 independent candidates facing the polls are Ernesto Singh, Chaguanas East, Vivian Johnson, Port of Spain North/St. Anne's West, and Leroy Richard Kelton George, Tobago West. A 35-year-old performer associated with the local Trinidad music scene is expected to appear in court following his arrest in connection with a series of viral videos that allegedly featured threats of violence aimed at individuals believed to support a particular political party. The TTPS said Bradley Donaram of Agapito Trace, Santa Flora, was arrested on Friday during an intelligence-led operation in the Penal District. The exercise was conducted by officers attached to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service National Operations Unit. Following an investigation and an interview with Donaram, the case was reviewed by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Roger Gaspard. On Monday, legal advice was given to formally charge Donaram under Regulation 12A of the Emergency Powers Regulations, as outlined in Legal Notice No. 240 issued under the current state of emergency. The charge, making statements to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety, stems from the content of the videos, which circulated widely on social media platforms. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service reminded the public that any act, verbal, written, or otherwise, that incites violence or spreads panic, particularly in the lead-up to the April 28th general election, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And that's news at this time.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio.
Your mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Men, women, tired of the invasive, painful old methods of testing prostate and breasts?
The Institute of Health and Fitness Clinic and Wellness Center offers comprehensive and non-invasive diagnostic testing, which indicates the nature and extent of diseases and tests your nutritional levels. Our quick testing can identify early signs of problems by evaluating many of the bodily functions, such as male and female sexual function, gastrointestinal function, liver function, kidney function, thyroid function, heart and brain function, and also cancer testing. Results are comparable with other medical lab tests without the use of needles or embarrassing specimen cups, and is pain-free. We also offer all natural treatments. Visit us now at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Trinidad, or call 492-7397 or 289-6363.
Wake up with the Net Radio Breakfast Show. Rise and shine with Wendell Stevens and Richard Raghubarsing, weekdays from 6 o'clock to 9 a.m. Start your day feeling good, energized, and informed as we tackle the biggest issues of the day, get you where you need to be on time, and keep you in the know about everything that matters. With elections coming up on April 28th, we bring you insightful discussions, expert analysis, and the latest updates so you're always ahead of the curve. Mornings matter. Your voice matters. And it all starts right here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio. The Net Radio Breakfast Show, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. Wake up informed and stay ahead.
The future of radio is here. New Era TT Radio. Net Radio. Let's go.
Hey, give thanks for life. Give thanks for life. Oh, chimney, chimney. Today my rise like the sunrise, my bright and my upright. No one can block my vibes. I may not care who I fight, I know I criticize. I'm on the higher heights. So you can say what you want to and do what you want to. It's no concern to me. I have my own vision, me dip on my own mission to rule my destiny. Oh, it's my day to do what I want to. It's my time, and I'll use it any way I want to. It's my life, and I'm responsible for every action. It's all mine, my day, my time, my life. I beg you, easy enough, give me some reason, and don't invade my space. I'm in a different place, different phase, moving on my way. So if you feel like a champion, then nothing can go wrong. This one is your song. Hey, put away your troubles, put away your worries, help me sing along. Oh, it's my day to do anything I want to. It's my time, and I'll use it any way I want to. It's my life, and I'm responsible for every action. It's all mine, my day, my time, my life. Out there, feeling alive, feeling a vibe, and nothing can stop me. I don't care what they think or what they say about me. Look out, world, here we come, up and running. And all I'm saying is, it's my day to do what the fuck I want to. It's my time, and I'll use it any way I want to. It's my day to do what the fuck I want to. It's my time, and I'll use it any way I want to. It's my day to do what the fuck I want
Wake
to.
up, rise up. It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
It's my time, and I'll use it any way I want to. It's my.
All right, everybody. So we welcome you back. Welcome inside the second hour of the breakfast show right here on New Era TT Radio. We're glad that you're here with us. And as we invite the guys back on the inside.
All right, I'm here. And welcome back to the second hour of the breakfast show, the most exciting hour, the hour where we have interviews lined up for you. And we will be getting an interview lined up for you very soon. But let me first read out some some polls that came in. Richard, you ready for them?
I am.
Well, that's very good. Very fair, very, very efficient of you, sir. Maureen Dilchan Maharaj says no. Beauty Culture says no. Susan Jessup says no. Wayne Ramsey says voted no. Who else voted? That was it. And a few comments from Slick Money Grip, Cheryl Henry, and Jasudra Ram Kalawan. All right. So those are the other votes. I don't know if Sir Charles got any more.
Only Sexy Reds says no.
Mm-hmm. Oh, red people like to claim that word before the name, eh? Before the name.
So the poll results and the final poll results will be with you after this. S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. All right.
And just in case you were wondering, Wendell will be working at Rumbox today. So come on down. If you never met Wendell before, you'll get to meet him today. And who knows, he might buy a bottle of water for you.
So the poll this morning, and let me just bring back up the poll. Let me just bring back up the poll so people see what the poll was. So do you believe that John Jeremy, Senior Counsel, crossing over to the UNC will impact the polls? That was our poll this morning. We had 40 people voting on the poll this morning in the allotted time. And of the 40 people, this is how it went. 37 of you said no, you do not believe that his crossing over to the UNC will impact the polls. 37 of you said no, and 3 of you said yes, you think it will. So that's our result. 40 people voting, 37 said no for our morning poll, and 3 of you saying yes. So now you know in terms of our poll results.
Yeah, the nose gone with it big time.
Yeah, well, I mean, John Jeremy is, I
think the former Prime Minister has some words on that also in today, you know.
Dr. Rowley?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'll try and see if I can find it.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to have a guest coming in shortly. But I was reading the article with regard to John Jeremy and what he had to say about why he left the PNM. So let me just read a little bit more of it. Just to send up your blood pressure.
Yeah. I'm just stepping away from the camera for just a bit. I need to put on hot water. Somebody's going to graciously bring some coffee for me.
Somebody's going to bring, okay.
Coffee.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for keeping our show professional. So, anyway, John Jeremy, why am I disgusted? Why I am disgusted by PNM. And I'm just going through some of what he said in this interview that is in the Daily Express. Jeremy said that there are other PNM members who feel this way, meaning the way he felt about the PNM, but remain silent. I think there are views in the party and in the cabinet that the party is heading in the wrong direction and it has lost its way. I think they are more optimistic of the possibility of change in direction than I am, he said. Asked to elaborate on what he meant when he said the PNM had lost its way, Jeremy said, Dr. Rowley went on national TV and espoused a view of development which was at odds with core PNM principles. It is patronism. He said there was nothing wrong with the rich getting richer. He said there was nothing wrong with the rich getting richer and the poor essentially scrambling for the crumbs. Jeremy reiterated that this is at odds with the core PNM development principles, noting that then Prime Minister Dr. Eric Williams and a special PM PNM convention in 1979, said that the purpose of the PNM was to bring races together, to add nobility, and to embrace all classes and colors. Those founding principles I can identify with. I could not identify with patriotism. I'm not built like that. Then there were statements over the years which indicated to me that he, Rowley in brackets, didn't just misspeak, that he was actually PNM, that was actually PNM policy. Jeremy also said a number of programs and initiatives at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, of which he was a founding board member, were not funded, and were abandoned. They found ways to find money for other things, and what I think disgusted me was that the fact that they could increase their salaries to a level where they were getting $1 million plus a year, and then turn and tell ordinary public servants and the rest of the society that they were entitled to a 4% increase. I cannot understand what possessed them. Just some of what you say.
Richard, what you read there, because I know John Jeremy, I know, listen, that just reeks of dishonesty. That what you just read there. I'm sorry, John Jeremy, you are entitled, it is your democratic right to support any political party of your choice, as is anyone else. If you want to be UNC, no problem. Just go and be UNC. Just go, because you said nothing all those years, okay? When you sat there, you enjoyed the perks of the Office of Attorney General. You enjoyed whatever else benefits you got from the PNM. You followed with Dr. Rowley, no problem. Plenty of people just followed with Dr. Rowley. I and all this get upset with Dr. Rowley. But I'm not going to jump to the UNC and say, because of this and because of that. No, come on, man. Just go. If you want to go to the UNC, go. Just like Larry Lala had a problem with the UNC and left and came to the PNM. That is people's democratic right. That is democratic right.
Let me just read what Dr. Rowley said about it, right? Because I mean, it's a lot of stories about Mr. Jeremy in the newspapers. Dr. Rowley said the UNC can have him. So said PNM political leader Dr. Keith Rowley, as he commented on former Attorney General John Jeremy's appearance on a UNC platform on Monday night, and his strong endorsement of the UNC. And he's quoted here saying, "I will not go so far as to call him a vagrant. We all remember the trail of blunders he left behind when he demitted office 15 years ago. John Jeremy has a lot to answer for, and to questions asked by the very UNC, the police, and others. He certainly qualifies to be sourced and added to the UNC's basket of the deplorables and be recruited to the cabal," already told the Express via WhatsApp.
And I want to tell you something. Larry Lala's, just to compare the two, if you want to compare Larry Lala and John Jeremy, because that's what people are doing. Larry Lala has had a problem with Kamala Persad-Bissessar for a long time, and he has made it public. He contested against her slate. John Jeremy said nothing for all the years, as far as I'm aware. No? You understand? So to come now and you're going on a UNC platform and you're saying you had a problem with the PNM and how it was the policy of the PNM. You didn't say anything, John Jeremy, senior counsel. I'm sorry, sir, you didn't.
Well, then it's, at the end of the day, it's a different style, and
Charles, don't make an excuse for John Jeremy.
No, I'm not making. You see where you're going. But how many people are in the PNM and criticizes the PNM, like how people criticize in the UNC? It don't happen.
Well, and I'm happy you said that. You give me the opportunity now to say, because the UNC clearly have more problems than the PNM.
No, but it's not a matter of the who have more problems. I'm talking about how people hear them. In the UNC, people feel that they can talk against the leader and still maintain, or whatever is the case, do what they have to do. But apparently in the PNM, it's not like that. You know
PNM does suffer, Charles? You know PNM does pay a price when PNM people vex? They lose elections badly. That's how they pay a price. They lose elections badly.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's
understand?
the election, but
People
talking about
will say
people.
nothing and quietly go and vote the government, vote the party out of power. That's what
Because
PNM.
I mean, and that happened in Tobago, you understand, and
Yes.
it made Miss Webster Roy having to come and say, "Is all you do with it, and is all you do that," you know. What I mean, but people have a history in the whether you want to call it a discipline or whatever is the case, within the People's National Movement. When things are happening and they are again certain things happening, they don't speak out.
One thing
they
I
take the
know,
pressure quietly.
yeah,
We have
and
a
one
call-
thing I
we
know
have a caller
PNM
there.
people don't like is the use of black people in those despicable ads that the UNC endorsing, because the UNC has not come out and disassociate themselves from any of those ads. From even the young man who was arrested, and I understand there were 2 other people who also were detained by the police. The UNC has not distanced themselves from it at all, which means it is part of their campaign. Part of their campaign. PNM pays a price by losing elections. That's the price they pay. And if they lose this election, it's because the PNM people are also upset. You understand? Nothing wrong with that. Life had to go on, you know.
Well, yes, I suppose, but I was just looking at the fact that how they treated it within the different parties. You know, you don't get that kind of open talk out kind of thing within the people. That has been so far a long
In
time.
the PNM.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hello, good morning to you, caller.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning, caller.
Yeah, wonderful program. Now I have 2 things to say, Mr. Stephen. I have a dispute with a vendor on
Caller, you cannot breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. What is this you say you have?
The issue I have is that there's a vendor on Henry Street. I think somebody would have put it in the chat, and I have the same problem. That he is blocking up the walkway or the pavement, as we call it, right? And people can't walk properly. That is at the bottom of Henry Street, like when you know cross from city.
Okay, you reported
The other issue I want to say is that I listened to Mr. Jeremy and I read the article that Mr. Richard just read, and sadly, that's the truth what Mr. Jeremy has said. This version of the PNM is not the same version of Dr. Williams and Mr. Manning, right? Those versions was people-centered. This version, sadly, is not the same. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. You know, I don't know why people are expecting, and John Jeremy was a man of age and experience. Dr. Rowley changed the face of the PNM. That was no secret. He eliminated the mandatory use of the Balizier tie. He introduced 1 man, 1 vote. He changed the way the PNM was under Dr. Williams and under Patrick Manning. He changed it. The party endorsed his recommendations for change, and the party changed. What is wrong with that? You may not always agree with it. I was one of the people who didn't agree with the Balizier tie, because I used to find it made you distinguishable from as someone in office. I didn't totally agree with it, but guess what? At the end of the day, I embraced it.
Right, caller. Good morning to you.
Good morning again, Sir Charles and Richard and Wendell.
Morning, Zena.
Let me tell you, Dr. Rowley said it perfectly. Perfectly, could say it any better way, and all the rubbish that seeping out from the PNM, let it go across the way it belongs. Let it gather on the other side. The PNM party is for class people. When you could hold a position like that, and they're trying to compare him with Mr. Lala. Mr. Lala never held that kind of office. He was a party member, and he's a lawyer. Not because of that, I want to compare that gentleman that is from the PNM held a senior office. And to go on a platform, it reminds me of that justice who did go on the platform to cut off the head of the snake.
Mr. Volley.
All right. Well, we have just to advise our listeners and viewers. We have Dominic Romaine standing by, so he'll be joining us shortly on the breakfast show. Of course, he is the PNM candidate for Malabar Mausika, and
formerly David O'Meara.
Yeah, well, people should know that by now. But anyway, so he's the candidate for the PNM for that seat, and he'll be joining us shortly. You could just finish up on whatever call you're on, Sir Charles.
Okay.
He's also a financial consultant, so he will be versed in that sphere, and we could talk to him about his take on the salary increases and so on that would have been given. We could ask him anything, actually, you know.
All right, so we can take your calls until
you're his agent. You tell us if we can ask him anything.
What's that?
You're his agent. That we can ask him anything. But
that's what we do on this breakfast show, not so?
You know,
you and Sir Charles have a kind of tone this morning. You know?
I have no tone. But I will. I will say, guys. You know, some people were asking yesterday. You know, that they felt that you guys were able to bring out the best of Miss Jackson because they say Miss Jackson is not an easy character. You know.
Yeah, and I see that you and Wendell have uploaded those reels in efficient form. And in case you all didn't notice the sarcasm in my voice,
Richard,
let it be very clear. We're going to let talk. So we have Mr. Romain with us. Good morning, Mr. Romain, and thanks for joining us. And thanks for joining us on the breakfast show.
To these platforms, he is no stranger to YouTube and these platforms. Good morning, Dominic.
Are you saying he always online?
He is. He is. He has his own show, you know.
Okay.
Is he hearing us?
You know.
I don't think he's hearing us.
He must be hearing us because I'm seeing him. So he's hearing us. Are you hearing us? Are you is your mic active, Mr. Romain?
No, he's not hearing us. He's looking at his computer and trying to figure out something.
Well, I hope he doesn't do something that we shouldn't be seeing.
Well, I mean, we'll go viral for that. You mean like dig his nose or something? Dominic, are you there?
Well, we're seeing him, so obviously he is there.
Let me message him.
But I thought you said he was accustomed to things like this one.
He is, but clearly we are a little more high tech probably than what he is.
I've seen you twice, Mr. Romain. Are you
log in again? That's what he did.
I wasn't in yet in your music library. Search on the music or ask for it on a different app.
Okay.
Well, one have to go.
But Dominic so powerfully, two Dominics we get it, yes?
Yeah, just now, let me just
take off one. I think that's what he was trying to do, log in again.
Oh God.
What do you do?
Let's remove one again. There we go.
Is he seeing me waving? Dominic, we're not hearing you.
We are hearing you, his mic is on.
Yeah, you know.
Okay.
Right, you're live now.
Yes.
Got you.
Thank you.
I know.
Okay, so welcome to the breakfast show.
Your area, you know. Don't lapse there, you know.
You're one of my constituents.
I am not, but welcome to the breakfast show, Dominic Romain.
Thank you for having me.
And Dominic have a real radio voice, so anyway, Richard, take it away.
All right, so you're going up for Malabar Mausika, which was formerly held by Lisa. Of course, I mean, I would have known Lisa. Well, she is Jean Ream like myself, so I'm from Central Arima. So I think my candidate will be from the PNM, Penelope Beckers Robinson, because I'm in Arima proper. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, because I don't think you are a well-known candidate in terms of nationally. And I think you're one of the new faces of the PNM. And so if you could tell us a little bit about yourself to our listeners and viewers watching across the planet.
Right. So I've been a member of the PNM since 2007. So I'm a financial advisor by profession. So this is not my first foray into politics. I would have been involved with the ILP, as a lot of people are aware of, for a short time before coming back home to the People's National Movement. I am a lifelong constituent of Malabar Mausika, born and raised. And so Lisa and I we became friends a little while before her passing, and she basically was trying to get me to become a little more involved in the happenings in the constituency, and then that unfortunate incident took place. So when the opportunity presented itself for me to screen, it took a little bit of thought and a little bit of coaxing from persons who are members of my party group. And based on their recommendation, I would have taken the decision to offer myself and to put my hat in the ring. And so here I am today.
Dominic, would you consider yourself a social media influencer?
Influencer? I don't know if I would use the word influencer. I don't know how much influence I would say, but I was previously on 91.9. We had a radio. Well, I started off on a radio talk show called The Sunshine Hour, and then in 2018, I would have left in 2015, came back in 2018 on a program called Facts versus Opinion. And I think really that is how persons would have gotten to know me, and I would have been on 91.9 until February of 2023. When
I'm not sure many people would have known you from there, but that's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, well, I was listening to a couple of your previous callers who are familiar with me from that platform. So in 2023, February, I would have left 91.9, and then, well, circumstances and so I was encouraged to continue the work that I was doing on radio, on social media. So I was a little hesitant at first, but then I started off on my program on YouTube called Facts Are Stubborn Things, which I've been doing for just over 2 years now. And Facebook page, called Debunking UNC Lies with Facts. So, but the listenership has been significant. And as a matter of fact, as I've been walking the constituency daily, meeting with constituents, a lot of them know me from my podcast. So that also has been very helpful with my campaigning as well.
Yeah. What has been your reception by the people, the burgesses of your community? Have you? I assume there's some who would be very friendly to you as a candidate.
Yes.
But maybe there's some who are opposed to the PNM, and how did they receive you?
So for the most part, persons have been friendly. I think it's no idle boast to say that Malabar in particular is PNM. So most of the households that we visited, most of the persons that we have met have indicated that they are PNM, and they would point out to you the things that would have been done in that constituency by the People's National Movement, which would have earned the loyalty of persons. In addition to that, the previous MP, Lisa Morris-Julian, would have done significant work, so much so that most people that I meet, the first thing they say to me is that you have very big shoes to fill, because Lisa was an excellent MP. She was present. She was always on the ground. She was reachable. If you called her, she would answer. If you messaged her, she would always respond. Even if she was not able to treat with your issue immediately, she would always let you know that, give you follow-ups, and try and find ways and means by which she could assist in some way. So there is that level of loyalty that Lisa would have been able to generate, and we have been able, that has assisted our campaign significantly, because persons are saying to me, I hope that you would continue the same level of service that we would have gotten from Lisa, and we are more than willing to give you the opportunity so to do.
Were there any boundary changes in that constituency, or was it just a name change?
No, there were boundary changes. In fact, the constituency, we would have lost one polling division to Trinity Maloney.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Interesting. All right.
So tell me something. Well, I know Lisa, but I mean, Lisa and I have interfaced many times when she was mayor too. And I know sometimes you would have had different opinions on certain things in Arima, because I'm a passionate Arimian, as she was too. So but we would have had different views on how we saw certain things. But certainly, you are right that she was always very responsive, and she would follow up, and I admire that about her. In terms of the PNM generally, the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, of course, you have several defections from the UNC to the PNM, high-profile defections and high-profile endorsements, if not defections. And of course, I always note, and Wendell notes too, and can back me up on this, that when UNC people come across the PNM, they immediately they bypass party loyal members and they strategically place tie up. But you had the high-profile defection of PNM people to the UNC too. So it's happening both ways. And of course, there was one yesterday with John Jeremy. What's your take on that? Because that was our poll this morning, so it's kind of like asking your poll question. Do you think that John Jeremy's defection to the UNC is going to have any effect on the polls in terms of how people vote on April 28th? Some analysts believe he can have an impact. Of course, most of our people voting on the poll this morning said no. What's your opinion?
I don't think it's going to have much of an impact, because I think with under 2 weeks to go before the election, most people would have already made up their minds what they're going to do. So with respect to how high profile Mr. Jeremy is, I would not necessarily share that sentiment, because he has been largely absent from the political landscape for quite some time. So, seeing him...
Well, I mean, a former prime minister coming out to talk about you and Faris Al-Rawi talking about you indicates a certain level that it mattered. Else they would have no response. They'd be like, well, we don't think it's important. But it took time out to respond. So let's not, minimize
I know, but
it.
when we listen to the responses given and the description of the the contribution that Mr. Jeremy can make, I mean, a lot of people, when you look at social media, you read the comments, right? And when this story would have broken, and you look at the various media houses who would have posted it, and you read in the comments, person is saying, who is he? Who is he again? The young people have no idea who Mr. Jeremy is, and we are really trying to target the young people in this election to get first-time voters and so on. So they would have no idea who John Jeremy is, a lot of them. So for them, it's a strange name. And then, as I said, based on me working in the constituency, and those persons who are loyal to the PNM, that wouldn't really, I think, have an impact. It's just they would see it in the same way with Mr. Kennedy Swartzen when he came out. There was maybe 1 or 2 days people spoke about it, but then after that, it just fizzled out. And when listening to what Mr. Jeremy would have said, as I read in today's newspaper, and some of the things that he would have said, that I think would have incensed a lot of PNM persons to hear him talk about the PNM in such a disparaging way, and to talk about, Dr. Rowley and some of the things. When he spoke on the platform, he talked about the PNM pulling the race card, which to me is something that is highly, if I would say, dishonest. Because when we look at the other side and the things that they have been saying and how often they use the race card and the manner in which they use it, in fact, they have criticized the People's National Movement for having such a diverse and ethnically diverse cabinet. I have heard Anil Roberts on his platform trying to gaslight persons in the PNM, saying, well, the PNM is supposed to be an African party, but look who Dr. Rowley given prime ministries to. There's not persons of African descent. When the government would have hired the new CEO of Heritage. I recall again, Mr. Roberts putting up a picture of this individual talking about, look a black man there, you see? They couldn't find a black man in Trinidad to come and hold the post, but the PNM is supposed to be a black party. They are the ones who have been focusing on it. For Mr. Jeremy to highlight that as an issue to say is one of the things that would have pushed him towards the UNC, I think is very disingenuous, especially since you have mentioned he left the party.
I mean, both parties have used race historically or otherwise in terms of how they approach politics. That's historical fact. But beyond all of that, you have a financial background.
Yes.
One of the main criticisms leveled at the PNM, or at least one of the criticisms coming from the other side, and that they're using as a tool in terms of their politicking, so to speak, in terms of getting people's votes, because all sorts of things come up when you're trying to get a vote, is the SRC and the raising of the salaries of members of parliament, members of the opposition too, and the prime minister, etc. And when public servants, this is what John Jeremy also mentioned it as one of his reasons, that and public servants being restricted to 4% under the current administration. How do you respond to that as a PNM candidate? Because it must have cropped up.
It hasn't cropped up as often as one might think. All
right, but it's cropping up now. So what do you think?
So first of all, one needs to address the misinformation that is in the public space, and that is that the Prime Minister would have gotten a 47% increase, which he did not. The fact of the matter is that the Prime Minister was receiving a duty allowance separate and apart from his normal salary previously, which has now been incorporated into the salary. So that is not additional monies that he has gotten. That was already there. It is no longer called a duty allowance, but it has been incorporated. So in fact, the actual increase that the Prime Minister would have gotten is about 28%. When we look at what the leader of the opposition would have gotten,
his base salary would have gone up by 28%.
Yes.
But base salaries is what is used to compute pensions.
Right.
It matters because that duty allowance would not have been counted as part of your pension arrangements in terms of the calculation.
Right.
So
but
merging it and making it part of your salary it increases your pension.
Right. But the focus that has been placed by the other side is that the Prime Minister got a 47% increase, which is not correct. In fact, the CPO would have been on an interview where he spoke about that. And he mentioned the fact that because that duty allowance was added to or incorporated into the Prime Minister's salary, it was nothing new. It's not additional monies that he got. So when you check the additional from what he was previously receiving, or whoever the office holder is, it's actually 28% and not 47%. In fact, yesterday, as I was walking about, I would have encountered a public servant who raised that issue with me. How do you feel about the politicians getting 47%? And they say politicians. So they are of the view, based on the misinformation in public spaces, that all of the politicians would have gotten a 47% increase, which is not factual. Right? So perhaps the timing of it was not the best when you juxtapose it against the perceived 4% that has been offered to public servants. But when I look at the salaries of
why is it perceived? Why is it the word perceived?
Because I have a different perspective on it.
What is that? What is that perspective?
And it has to do, of course, with the increase in personal allowance, right? Which is something that persons don't often speak about. Between 2010 to 2015, the personal allowance in Trinidad and Tobago was $60,000, meaning anybody who was earning more than $5,000 that you would have had to pay 25% on every dollar that you earned over $5,000. This administration increased personal allowance 3 times in the last 9 years. It went from 60 to 72, 72 to 84, and then 84 to 90. That constitutes, in my mind, a pay raise because the money that you would have been paying in income tax that was going to the Board of Inland Revenue, it is now going to your bank account. So I will give you an example.
That holds for workers across Trinidad and Tobago in terms of taxation,
correct.
Private and public sector.
Correct, which I think is a plus.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying it's not a plus at all.
Yeah.
But that's separate and distinct from your salary negotiations and the percentile,
correct,
and which your base salary goes up.
Agreed. But we have what we must look at, and we have been cultured to believe that the only way the government could give a pay raise is by actually increasing your monthly figure. But the government would have used a different perspective in this instance to be able. So we cannot discount the fact that persons are taking home more money today than they would have been taking home before. So even though the actual salary figure that you get now may be the same as it was in 2013, the percentage of that you are taking home today is more than you would have been taking home then. So I was giving the example, someone who would have been earning $7,500 a month between 2010 to 2015 would have been paying $7,500 per year in income tax, or $625 per month. Today, that person no longer pays any income tax. So that $7,500 is a monthly salary. So you would have been working for 12 months, but only receiving 11 months salary because 1 month's salary was going to the government.
But Dominic, sorry to interrupt you, because I'm hearing you and I would have heard you the other night on the platform. Right. Why isn't this thing being properly articulated to the public? Because clearly the public is of a view that politicians taking a raise and nobody else getting it.
Yes. So I have been raising this for a long time on my platform. I can't see why it is that the party hasn't really focused on that more, because since I would have spoken about it on the platform, I could tell you I have gotten a lot of calls, a lot of messages from persons who are saying, we need to hear this needs to be spoken about more. They need to take a clip of what it is that you would have said and put it out so that persons can understand that.
Yes.
Right. So when we look at, as the example I was giving you, $625 as a percentage of 7,005 actually works out about 8.3%. You are now taking 8.3% more of your salary in today than you will between 2010 to 2015. And when you add the 4% that the government is offering, that person would have actually gotten a pay raise of 12.33% and not 4%. And that same gentleman who I spoke to you all about earlier, who I met yesterday, when he approached me with this 47% and I raised that with him, you could see the facial expression, and he accepted what I would have said, right? And
so
he was willing.
So you're construing a reduction in taxation as an increase in your salary.
Yes.
In terms of how you are articulating that point. So you're saying any reduction in taxes, construe it as an increase in your salary.
Yes.
Because that holds for all citizens across the country, private and public. So it's not just about
the definition, when we think about a pay raise, essentially in its most base definition, is that you are taking home more money. So the government could have simply said, well, we will leave personal allowance at 60,000, and then we could give an increase that amounts to $625.
But you know, pay raises matter more than that, because going back to what the SRC report said, and you're talking about the duty allowance, especially for pensionable positions in the public sector, those pay rises matter because what salary you go up and how much you go up by percentile wise indicates what your pension will be at the end of whenever you retire. Once you've crossed 10 years, you're entitled to a pension.
Correct.
So I mean,
but Richard, also
in a kind of way, depending on the perspective that you're looking at it. Huh?
A lot of loans from financial institutions, they're predicated on your disposable income, on the excess that you have.
Well, they go through their own formulation, but they ask for your gross salary. That's what they ask for.
Right.
And they will do their calculations in what percentile in terms of your debt to debt servicing ratios, so to speak, in terms of what they're approving you for a loan. But they don't ask you for your net. They ask you for your gross, which is what your job letter would indicate.
But they also ask you for your expenditure. What are you?
Right. So they look at your profile. But what I'm saying, but the point Dominic is making is that any reduction in taxation is a salary increase. Basically, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
So that should be part of the salary increase. Yeah. But I don't know that I agree that it's that easy a fix. Because there are more nuances in terms of people's salaries and computations that affect what they eventually get.
Yeah. But so Dominic,
I hear that, Richard, but at the end of the day, I can tell you, because while you may consider that, remember, let's look at persons who may be at the younger end of the employment spectrum. A lot of people don't stay in the same job. So their main concern at that time is not about pension. So while you focus on that, at the end of the day, the main thing persons are thinking about now is how much money do I have in my hand today? So at 40-year-old is not thinking 20 years down the road. He's thinking, what do I have in my hands today that I can afford to live comfortably? Because what is being pushed by the other side is people are suffering. They can't afford to make ends meet. They can't afford to pay their bills and all of that. So they're not talking the pension is used.
So what you're saying, so that if somebody is working in Republic Bank, and Republic Bank has a very vibrant union, Republic Bank managing director like Nigel Batiste can say, well, the government increased your take home by 90,000, so you got a raise there already. So we could just give you a 2% and you add that up, and that's how they should negotiate. That's what you're saying. That's how the private sector should negotiate. Because that's how you're suggesting that the public sector negotiate by telling them, well, you're not really getting 4%, you're really getting 12%. So the private sector should say that too then.
No, Richard, he's not saying that.
Richard, I'm not saying that.
In a sense, that's what you're saying.
No.
Am I misreading you?
The employer in this case is the
You're being mischievous.
The employer in this case is the government. So the government
and you're saying, didn't you say earlier in this interview that you're not just getting 4%, you're getting 12% because of the increase in your salary? Did you say that or not?
I did say that, but you have
to. So then that's a negotiating point of view, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but Richard, you are confusing the public and private, because remember, if we're talking here about the government being the employer, The government, in deciding what your pay packet is, has to decide, well, what are the things am I going to give to make your monthly pay packet worth the while? So they may say, for instance, if it's the government, well, we could give you a 5%, but maybe there's some other things that we could put in there that we could give. So if we're giving you a bonus or we're giving you some other thing to enhance your pay packet. No, we cannot complete that with the private sector, because remember, the private sector, Republic Bank.
But Dominic, you brought up the issue of the taxation.
Yeah, but we must not
going up to $90,000. That's not restricted to public sector workers.
I agree with that. So that the private sector would have benefited as well. But I'm saying where we are dealing with the government being the employer in this instance, what based on the resources that are available, what can the government offer you to be able to make your monthly pay packet work better? And as I said, persons are concerned about the amount of money that they're taking home and the ability to be able to live a comfortable life.
Yeah, I think the government as the negotiator, as the negotiator will say, well, you get $90,000 exemption.
Richard,
plus your 4%, you're actually getting 12%. And you said that earlier, and so I'm saying there is nothing preventing the private sector from saying the same thing.
Richard,
when you're getting that 90,000, so instead of
because it would not.
No, according to your explanation, I'm saying I'm just taking it down the logical road.
Richard, I think what Dominic was attempting to do, and Dominic could correct me if I'm wrong because he's still on the program, is to make a counter argument against what the UNC is saying in terms of that raise that supposedly the Prime Minister take, because they've been focusing on the Prime Minister.
I get that. In terms of the 4% offered to public servants.
Yeah,
because I get that, and I mean from an SRC point of view, I do agree, Dominic, that the salaries of the Prime Minister, the position of Prime Minister, and the position of all those senior officials in the SRC needed to go up.
Yes,
I do not disagree with that.
Right,
but I'm just looking at the logic of what you're saying and what the implications are, and I'm just saying it's more nuanced than that, in my opinion. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But in
Dominic,
terms of,
yes, sir.
Richard, just before you go, Dominic raised that issue earlier on that I took note of, and I didn't get a chance to interrupt at the time. The fact that many young people, Dominic, and I will agree with you, don't even know who Kennedy Sorat Singh and John Jeremy is.
Yes.
They've been out of the politics since 2010, active politics, both of them. So many of the young people who are going out to vote, who are they? I don't even know them, and it wouldn't matter to them. And so I just I was hoping that you would have emphasized on that a little more.
Yeah, and to that point, Wendell, I'll give you an example that I would have met a young constituent just a couple of days ago, 19 years old, and in the community, so they facilitated us with a little cottage meeting, and they had the opportunity to ask questions. And this young man asked me one question. He said, "I'm 19 years old. I'm a first-time voter. Tell me why I should vote for you. Why should I give you my vote?" Right? And because he would have had opportunity to speak the previous day with the UNC candidate. And what I explained to him, I said, first of all, I live in the constituency. I am the only candidate who lives in the constituency. So I have a vested interest in ensuring that the constituency is well taken care of, because what happens in the constituency affects me, right? So, but there were other things that I would have raised with him as well. But and that's what I'm saying. So them bringing people like John Jeremy and Sorat Singh and these people, these young people, first time, he doesn't care about that. He wanted to know, how can you impact my life now? I don't want to know about persons who were there before and their endorsements and so on. I'm asking you as a young voter, first time, what are you going to do so that I could feel confident that you are somebody that I have no problems giving my vote to and representing me in the constituency? And
ultimately, all politics are local. People always want to know, what is the benefit? How is my quality of life going to change?
Right.
As a result of your actions or inaction?
Correct.
And that's an important question that I think both parties have to answer. What is our quality of life? I was given an example yesterday in that the MOWT, the Ministry of Works and Transport, was advertising finally that we could renew permits online, which is a great achievement finally for Trinidadians and Tobagonians. But Barbados has been doing it since 2020. And it aggravates me, Wendell knows this well, because I am super competitive with the rest of the Caribbean and the world. And I am always want Trinidad to be at the forefront of stuff. And you have other Caribbean islands that are ahead in terms of some of the digitization processes than Trinidad is, even though we have more money and more cash flowing through our system than they do. And so what's the problem with us in terms of implementation? Colm Imber several years, about 3 budgets ago, talked about an electronic and digital ID that all citizens would have in terms of accessing government services. Zero. We were supposed to get digital health cards and stuff and information from COVID. Zero. We're supposed to do away with airline forms and stuff like that. They now seem as if they're getting there. I watched a YouTuber from Jamaica visiting Trinidad just for Carnival here. And when she was coming in the process, she said, oh, look, Trinidad still have this form that Jamaica did away with a long time ago. This is all at the foot of the PNM because you all have been there for the last 10 years. So what's your and I get it why Stuart Young would say they need a Ministry of Implementation and Efficiency, very Doge sounding, but and very seeming to replica the Donald Trump administration.
Hey, don't compare PNM with Donald Trump, please. Don't
I
do
said
that.
no, the Doge. It seems very much along those lines, but I'm not saying that it's not necessary. So do you think that the PNM has an implementation problem, Dominic?
I wouldn't say the PNM has an implement. I think government has an implementation problem, whoever is in office, because the fact of the matter is one of the issues that must be addressed is the issue of public sector reform, which I don't think is spoken enough about. I always give the example of where the Prime Minister a couple of years ago in Parliament would have given the example where he spoke about the cabinet giving instructions, for instance, to all ministries that all ministry vehicles must carry the decal of the particular ministry. And that was to treat with the issue of public servants abusing state property vehicles in particular for private use. So the Prime Minister said, once we carry this out, if it is that you see a Ministry of Education vehicle up on the beach on a Sunday morning, you know they're not doing ministry work. And I always remember the Prime Minister saying this, Madam Speaker, you would not believe the level of pushback that the cabinet has gotten, that where it is that you have senior public officials have taken their time, dragging their feet to carry this out, hoping that an election would come. And because this was a policy of the PNM, it would be done away with. And when the new government comes in, a different party, that the old system could continue. So that there are persons in the system who push back on these things because they benefit from the status quo. And therefore, how do we treat with that? That is something that must be discussed. So the government wants to put things in place, but that when you have persons who are there, who are entrenched in the system, who see this as being something that is inimical to their well-being, however they benefit from it, it is always going to cause problems. The second thing that we must look at with respect to that as well is that promises are made on the campaign, and I believe that there is genuine intention to put these things in place, but you have to look at the availability of resources. And this government would have been challenged for resources from day one to be able to implement these things. We had COVID that came in that took a lot of money that was not budgeted for in 2019, and monies that would have been earmarked for certain projects would then have to be redirected now to treat with that particular circumstance at the time. So I think one of the issues that this administration would have had in terms of implementation would have been the issue of resources and really getting persons who have to carry out the work to come on board and assist the government in making it happen. Now, you gave an example, a comparison of Trinidad and other Caribbean islands. When I went to Jamaica a couple of years ago, I was surprised to see that Jamaica has a toll road. And I understand Guyana has that too. If we were to try to implement that here, and there are benefits to it, the money that comes from that could be able to maintain the highways and so on, we would know there would be riot. They would say the government only trying to take money from people, but these Caribbean islands have these things.
It's the best road in Jamaica, I have to tell you.
It is. I agree with you.
$3,000 Jamaican dollars to use that road.
Yeah, so and going and come, so you enter the road, you pay. And when you're coming back out, you pay again.
Yes.
Yeah,
I experienced
I was
it
surprised
recently.
to see that. But of course, we can't introduce that here because it would be licks for any administration that does it.
And where would you want to introduce a toll road in Trinidad anyway? Trinidad is a smaller space than Guyana and Jamaica.
Well, but the thing is,
it's like saying,
if it is that we want to,
Grenada should have a toll road, Barbados should have a toll road. But talking about little islands, we are little islands.
Yeah, but then if we want to put forward that argument, Richard, then we could say that the population size in all of these other islands is significantly smaller than Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, which
Therefore,
matters
because
too.
it would cost less for them to implement certain things that you would have mentioned about, because you have a smaller population who will be accessing it. But when you have to deal with a population of 1.2, 1.3 million people who have to use,
which is small, that is a suburb of some cities in China.
I hear that, Richard, but I am saying that if you are going to compare Trinidad to the population size of Barbados, which is 285,000 people, or the population of St. Vincent, which
I'm not comparing. I am just saying. I'm not comparing. I am saying because Jamaica also has online renewal. Jamaica doesn't have those forms, and I'm saying they have a issue. They seem to be better at implementing stuff quickly. We have a digital, and we still have to talk to Hasselbackers, the Minister of Digital Transformation, because everything seems. Anytime we speak to Hasselbackers, he always says a lot of work is going on in the background. A lot of work is going on in the background. A lot of to-do was done about the digital health card for COVID. Nothing happened. It's borderline embarrassing, and I'm saying it probably. You are right, Dominic. It probably crosses whoever is in governance. It's maybe not a P&M thing. Maybe it's a governance thing. And government official thing, but it's embarrassing in how long it takes. It's embarrassing in how long it takes to move things forward to make the quality of life of Trinidadians and Tobagonians better, and because of the amount of money that has gone through this country since 1962. You would not believe, this is a pet peeve of mine, and Wendell knows this. It annoys me that when I watch news in the night, and something has happened in some area and they interview the people, and the level of conditions of their housing is ridiculous in a country that has been so wealthy that people still live in conditions where they have latrines and outhouses and barely standing structures that are seemingly collapsing, and it's a mother with 2 or 3 children. It's downright embarrassing and gets me annoyed. And I blame all parties for that have governed us. Of course, PNM has governed us the most, so they have more of the blame to take.
But Richard, I think it's important, and this is something that once I'm successful at becoming MP, and I think needs to be stressed to persons, right? I think that because when the budget is read, there are three phases to the budget. So you have the day that the budget speech is read. Then we go into the actual debate, and then you have the Standing Finance Committee, which would go into more granular detail as to how these monies are going to be spent. Most persons in the country will only listen to day one. They would not listen to the debate, most persons, and they wouldn't listen to the Standing Finance Committee, that portion of it where the opposition would grill the government on how money is going to be spent. And I recall reading an article not so long ago which shows that about 85% of our annual budget goes into paying wages and salaries, transfers and subsidies. That is a significant amount of money. So when we see ministries receiving 6 billion and 5 billion, we say that's plenty money. But when you look into it and you see a majority of that is going into paying salaries, or the majority of the budget is going to pay things like pensions and social welfare grants, like public assistance and disability grants and so on. The government needs to tell the people how this money is being spent. Don't just present a budget and people seeing 58 billion and 60 billion and telling themselves it's a lot. And they don't have a grasp as exactly how much of that money, where that money is actually going. And that is very important. So while you would have mentioned a lot of money would have passed to this country, when it is that we look at where is the majority of it going. For instance, when I'm walking my constituency and I encounter young people in their mid-20s and so on telling me they're unemployed, they're looking for work. And I would say, so what kind of work you're looking for? And more often than not, I want a corporation work. I want a work in the borough. And I'm asking, what is this attraction with the corporation and the borough? And speaking to my campaign manager, who's an alderman, and he says, well, it's because of the work hours. So they're just working for a couple hours and then they could go back home. And they're happy with that. How can you, in that instance, how can you tell me this is somebody who really wants better for yourself? But you're telling me that you just want a corporation work where you work a couple hours and then you could go back home, and even in the additional hours that you have, you're not putting it to productive use. Now, one of the things that this administration has done, to your point about the condition of housing, is this home and village improvement program. I have seen a number of persons in my constituency who have benefited from these starter homes, where they move from the same shacks that you're talking about to now a concrete structure, a starter home where they have indoor plumbing and all of these different things. And it is now left to them, if they want to add on to that they could. But these facilities are there, and it is for persons to take advantage of it. But I hear the opposition leader talking about, put us in office and we will give you land for the landless, which is essentially you're telling people you're giving them permission to go and squat on state land. And she said in one of her speeches on a Monday night forum, we will give you land so you could build a 2x4, and then over the years you could save your money, and then you could graduate to a 10x10. This is what the leader of the opposition who wants to be prime minister is telling persons in this country, move from a 2x4 to a 10x10. But you have this administration who is saying if you already have permission to occupy a piece of land, you have a shot, come to us, we are willing. The government set aside a budget of $200,000 per unit. In the first instance, 600 families to be able to benefit from that. So if you add maybe 3 or 4 persons per family, we're looking at about 2,400 persons who stand to benefit from better housing, and it doesn't have to be HDC. This is the government is assisting persons, and I'm seeing there are a lot of persons in my constituency because we have a few squatter settlements in the constituency. And I want to also focus on the issue of squatter regularization. Because when you go into some of these squatter communities, you see beautiful homes, but persons do not have title to the land. So they have property, beautiful homes that have value, but you are not able to leverage on the value because you don't have title. And this is something that is important, that once we can do that, so persons can get a deed of lease that they could take to the bank, rather than the opposition is advocating that we give you a deed of comfort that is of no use and cannot help you to leverage on the value of your home.
Thank you.
I hear you. And as I say, this is not a PNM thing.
It's not.
This is just a governance thing of post-1962 that we have not been able to deal with housing for the people who who need access to housing.
Correct.
Post-1962 in a relatively small population size of 1.4, let's say it's 1.5 million now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just disappointing that we have not managed to tackle that properly.
Well,
So
guess what,
now
Richard?
people are the women fancy of landlords that can be, pretty abusive in terms of some of their policies. And of course, we have no rent assessment board anymore. We have no rent control. And I always tell Wendell, the only reason Trinidad and Tobago has no rent control is because half of the parliamentarians are landlords.
Yes.
Fight me on that.
Well, Richard, at the end of the day, the choice is that you have, you vote for a prime minister who had a record in 2010 to 2015, or you have a brand new prime minister who.
Well, true. I mean, I think that's
the reality in this election, you know.
I agree, and so I'm waiting to see some of the polls coming out saying what is the sentiment of the population regarding it. But Dominic, I mean, we're already over our time, but we always give the courtesy of people being able to call in. Are you willing to take some calls?
Sure, no problem.
So we are opening up the lines at this point, so you can call in. I know there's a lot of comments taking place on the stream, but let me pull up the
They had a fight going on the stream, so we're not going to get into the fight.
There's the number on the ticker tape at the bottom, so you can call. So Charles, you're there to take some of the calls, right?
I am, and so people can call us at 281-1315.
Yeah. Our guest is Dominic Romain, the People's National Movement candidate for Malabar O'Meara. Is that it? Malabar O'Meara?
Malabar
Mausika.
Malabar Mausika. Formerly David O'Meara.
It's on the screen, Brenda.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Yeah, no, but people who are not seeing, they need, they need to hear. So yeah, that's good. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen, again, and good morning to my lovely Dominic Romain.
Morning, Zina.
All right. So you hear the man know me. He know this voice. And he know from where. Right. So let me tell all you something. It is all whoever controlling, all have to control when you see the naysayers come on. Because it's how one jump on the stream called Ned. Go there. You see when you start to get disrespectful, I just give it. To come to talk about he is just a PNM zombie. What the hell, Mr. Ned, you mean by that? Go from here. Hold. Right.
Zina, focus. Forget those commentators on the stream.
Yeah, but when they get
they're not even using the right name, most of them.
block them when they get disrespectful.
Aye.
Yes, Dominic. You, as I say, you keep focus on the one they put in your area with the same name. Make sure you let the people know. Keep talking about the surname Dominic Roman and look for the PNM. Look for the Balize. And
All right.
all who want to come to talk about Mr. Man jumping on, and so that gentleman who crossed the floor there and who went on the platform, I call him sour grapes. So I'm not even going to let what he had to say confuse anybody here. And I'm happy what Dr. Rowley said. He put it just how I would have said it. Thank you.
Okay. When the shoe's on the other foot is sour grapes and is the other foot is good grapes.
We're gonna do. All that in the politics, you know. You know. So any other calls for Dominic?
No, not right now.
Yeah, Dominic, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Well, you're no stranger, as I said.
I got the call coming in. Take this.
Oh, you got a call. All right.
Yeah,
we'll take
the
the
call coming in from Far Rockaway. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. Morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Mr. Payne. Hello?
Yeah, we're listening. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're Far Rockaway.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Roman.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Far Rockaway, you have a question for Mr. Roman? Or you just come to, you just...
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
You had a lot to say on the
He has so many shows on YouTube doing programs. How come he's not considered a social net media influencer?
Okay, that's the question? Okay.
That's the question, Rockaway?
Yes. Yes.
I take it, no problem.
Because we would have asked him that at the very beginning. You know?
Yeah, thanks very much, Rockaway. And
Mr. Roman is an accomplished host just like we are, you know. I don't know if you all know that. He might not have our pedigree, but he's an accomplished host. But we in this thing for 20 years.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, good morning, Kolo.
Yeah, hi, morning, fellas. And to your guests. Yeah, now my thing is, you mentioned planning, and I know there's a long history of good plan for the Susu Land project, nowadays, and things. But sad to say, this present 10 years doesn't seem real. I didn't see much happen in planning when it comes to I doing a project. I've seen people grabbing land up in Valencia, and then what you see in this new dispensation, new leader, and you think is there, and how do you see planning as a way of developing and rolling that out? Is that well, I say you mentioned for the young people, the starter homes and stuff like that, I'm mentioning it, but what am my concern is that mentioning things and rolling them out in the way that you see it fit is there, because I know right now the Aripo Savannah is being degraded by squatting. If you go through there, and as a heritage site, the Asia right, because of the illegal, the quarrying, the threatening Asia right, and all those things, quarrying as ministry of thing, but as planning. And planning in Trinidad and Tobago was true. Now, in the early days of our development thing, Santa Cruz, when it took the things, how do you speak to that as a young person, where you understand some of the things, the deeds, the lack of deeds, how local government, the abandoned lands, how do you see that rolling out in sustaining communities and stuff like that? Because I have plenty of ideas around that thing. I'm working in the vineyard the cocoa thing. With those things, trying to get projects, and I have realized that politicians like y'all don't listen, don't like to hear people who have, I've worked with the local government for over 20 years, and there's a wall between the political elite in listening. And as both sides, I work with UNC, I work with PNM, and there's this block and especially young people like you look like about 30 something. How you're afraid to listen and allow young people with ideas and dreams to share, to allow things to happen and develop well.
Dean, thanks much. Thanks much.
Yeah. I can answer that, but I know Dominic is quite capable also too.
Well, the question wasn't directed at you; it was directed at Dominic.
I know, but I would love to have answered that.
Yeah, but it's not to you.
Well, I would just provide my perspective on that, guys, and the caller would have spoken to the issue of listening, and I agree that is important. But we have a number of state enterprises who have a responsibility to treat with these issues. But then, who does the government listen to? And it depends on what is their intention. Because, for instance, he spoke about the issue of squatting, right? And I asked the question, who does the government listen to? Because we have the Land Settlement Agency, whose responsibility it is to ensure that the issue of squatting is kept under control. But when persons go and they squat, and then the government decides, listen, we need to treat with this issue, and they come in and they decide to demolish homes, there's the sentimentality side of it. So the media would run up there and look how wicked the government is, the people and them, they have no place to live and so on. And then you have wider society now coming and saying, yes, the government too high-handed. Why are they doing the people that? And so on. Give you case another example. During COVID, when it is WASA decided that they were going to clamp down on errant consumers, persons who have not paid their bills sometimes in years, and they started doing disconnections. Persons found money, and you see long lines outside of WASA offices going to pay their bill. And then the opposition come and say we're in COVID, and the government wicked because some people out of work, and some people have seen a reduction in their salaries, and why it is you all coming now to force the people to have to pay these bills and so on. Within 2 days, the government listened, and then WASA pulled back and they stopped. They stopped doing the disconnection drive. And then we continued exactly where it is that we were. So how do you treat, and that is one of the challenges that is being faced with now. As I said, there are plans in place. The Prime Minister did speak to the issuance of some 3,000 lots to assist first-time homeowners, putting things in place to assist such persons. Another thing that this government would have done would have increased the minimum threshold for stamp duty from $850,000 to $2 million for first-time homeowners, so that saves a lot of money on issues such as closing costs, right? So, forgive me, it's just somebody keeps calling me and all of my devices are linked.
So it's not Stuart Young.
No. No. So it's really to get all of these state entities that have a responsibility. With the issue of quarrying, we know that we have the EMA and these things, the issuance. Sometimes we see the issuance of certificates of environmental clearance, and persons are asking about how did these people get that? Because when you look at the impact, the environmental impact, and questions are being asked. So these state enterprises need to be a little more responsible in how it is that they do their work to carry out their jobs. For instance, I recently saw on the Parliament channel where the Joint Select Committee or the Parliamentary Committee would have been interviewing the LSA. One of the issues that they highlighted, which prevents them from being able to do their work effectively, is the shortage of staff. So this is something I think that the government definitely needs to look into, because if they cannot carry out their mandate because they don't have workers to do it, then it falls back on the government. So we need to be able to treat with that. There are persons out there who are duly qualified, who can do the work, and there are vacancies available. So let us fill those vacancies.
Yeah. You know, and as we end the conversation, Dominic, I think part of the PNM's, I don't want to say public relations problem, let's call it that. I'm just phrasing it that way, is the issue of how much it costs and how much they justify stuff. And I'm not saying that they're justifying it wrongly, but for the people on the ground, it's just more money we're going to have to pay. An example of the toll road that you brought up, and you're saying money. It's, for some people listening, it'll be like, oh, there the PNM goes again. Let's see how we can get more money out of the people after you bungled billions and billions since 1962. That's how people are going to think. It's like, you know, so it's like they always, so it's like the issue of WASA and TNTech. And people know it's not been articulated on the platforms because it's not popular. But people know that once you vote the PNM back into power, your WASA and TNTech rates are going to go up.
Once you vote any government into power, that's a reality.
We know for sure where the PNM is going up.
The UNC will raise nothing. UNC just gonna bring in a pile of money from somewhere.
I can't speak for the UNC, but I know.
Where they gonna get the money from? The old $100 bills? The valuation?
Certainly, there was
the
a
IMF?
delay.
Where they gonna get the money from?
Certainly, there was a delay in increasing the electricity rates because of the election. So it marinated in cabinet, or inverted commas, because it obviously somebody in cabinet was saying we can't raise those electricity rates now, even though it had gone through the whole process, we can't do it yet because we have an election in 2025. Anybody who is logical can see the writing on the wall. The Minister of Public Utilities has already said that water rates will not go up until the next 2 years. Of course, that could change and it could be a year, but he's already indicated it's going to go up. So for a lot of people...
So in other words, Richard, hold on, let me say. In other words, the PNM government must get punished for being honest and truthful with the population, while the UNC fool us about all kind of ham and lamb and jam.
Well, you could politic. I'm just saying that this is a reality that people are going to look at because it affects their pocket. People are going... Electricity rates, there are people right now that struggle to pay it.
Electricity?
Electricity rates, there are people who struggle to pay their electricity bills, Wendell. And if you think that they aren't, then you'll have a problem.
I didn't say that they aren't,
But I'm telling you that there are people who
electricity
struggle.
rate is based on consumption.
Yeah, but there are people who still struggle to pay their electricity rates.
Water rates are low.
And because of people's income, because of the variety of things, the cost of living has gone up. So there are many things that people look at in terms of who they vote for. And in terms of tailoring that message, I think the PNM has to be very cognizant of that and don't ignore it.
And I agree with you. I agree with you, Richard. And I think that, and that is why, to your point, where we talk about, the things that we do when we compare with other Caribbean countries and so on. The issue of metering when it comes to water is important, right? So pay for what it is that you use. Because I can tell you, my next door neighbor, they have 2 tanks. And they don't, the tanks apparently, it appears that they don't have the float. So when we've been getting water every day for the longest while now. So those tanks have been overflowing and I'm seeing gallons and gallons of water wasting. And they take it for granted because they pay a little bit.
That annoys me.
Yes, it annoys me because when I walk my constituency and there are persons who telling me you're having challenges for water, we get water 2 times a week or 3 times a week and the pressure is too low. And then I see my next door neighbor is wasting this precious water. But you know what? The bill's small, so let waste. And that is why we need that accountability. So as Wendell would say, sometimes the prescription may seem a bit extreme, but we can't keep doing things simply populist strategies, which is what the UNC is offering. So let us do because people happy with this. We put in something. When people tell me, I met a guy yesterday who say, well, yeah, the UNC thief, but at least they do. And I'm willing to give them a chance, even though they're thief, they do.
Imagine that.
So once I get a little something, I don't mind if they thief. Okay, but then we complain about the politicians being corrupt and filling their pockets and so on. But we have a lot of people who have that mindset, which is unfortunate because the PNM, unfortunately, for them, would focus on those things and trying to be a little more responsible, because we know that if it is that you don't increase the rates, then it means the state has to pay more in subsidies. And we have to understand the impact of those subsidies means that is less money available to the government to be able to fix the roads that you want them to fix and to improve the healthcare system and the education system. So there is a trade-off, and therefore the population needs to make a decision. What do you want? Do you want to benefit more personally at the expense of the wider society in terms of the government not being able to provide as you would like them to do? Or are you willing to just pay a little more so that the government could do more? Because I meet people who tell me, we don't mind paying a little more.
Well, there's the other side of that argument.
The benefit of that money.
The other side of that argument too, of course, is that the state is a facilitator of economic activity and the growth of our GDP. Right. And in terms of getting alternate and diverse sources of income, so that it lifts everybody, so those become less of an issue. But the economy has been pretty stagnant for a little while. And we have been hearing austerity, basically for the last 10 years.
Right.
That's not great.
I agree with you.
Because it means your decision making on the economy has not grown the GDP enough to lift the society. And that's part of your responsibility when you say vote for me and all you have all your big bacchanal and Eddie Hart grounds and say vote for us. That's the responsibility that you're taking.
Yes.
That we are going to manage the economy, we are going to grow the GDP, we are going to make sure that the island and the people of Trinidad and Tobago are hopeful and prosperous.
Yes.
Well said, Richard. And then one COVID steps in, and you and 3 years straight, you're barely holding on. And we have the PNM to their credit has managed to keep us away from the IMF and keep us away from a lot of other issues that a lot of other countries facing. A lot of people forget that, you know. A lot of people forget that.
And if I may also just chime in here as well, Wendell, and I throw my mind back to 2013. So when we look at the different areas in which we can boost the economy, manufacturing has been leading that charge. But I recall in 2013 when the TTMA would have had a meeting, and one of the laments of several manufacturers is that while they have the capacity to expand their output, one of the biggest challenges that they were facing is the issue of workers. Persons were leaving these factories to go and work in CPEP, and the manufacturers are saying, look, we have the capacity to run 3 shifts, but we can't get people to work the graveyard shift, and even the 2 other shifts that we're running, we have people doubling up because we just simply cannot get workers who are willing to come and do the job. And so we have to look at it from that perspective. If there are different sectors that we could develop, but do we have the persons who are willing to come and do the work? Because if everybody wants a corporation work and they want to borrow work and they're not, and that is what the focus is on, and they're not willing to work.
But Dominic, who inculcated that culture? It started in 1962. And I wonder who was in charge then, boy.
But I hear what you're saying.
That's where the culture started. Let's not pretend.
No, I hear what you're saying. But the fact of the matter is, because you work in CPEP or work in URP doesn't mean that when you get off work there that there's anything. The government doesn't prevent you from going and work somewhere else and get an additional income. So the government doesn't tell you you have to come and work for CPEP. So if persons choose to normalize poverty, so you work in CPEP and you have normalized your life around this particular income, and then you want a food card and you think, okay, that's good. I'm good with that. You see that amount of money, I could live off of that. And
gentlemen, I think you have a misconception of people in that bracket and how they live.
No, I am speaking about persons that I know personally who I have tried to help and give them other jobs.
And they content with food cards. And they content with food cards and say, that's my life.
Yes, I am telling you this.
Gentlemen, let me interrupt you for a minute. Let me just take this final caller very quickly. Caller, thanks for holding.
Good morning. Good morning. Excellent interview today. Excellent interview. This is the first time Richard Ragubarsing has irritated my soul in an interview. I don't know if he's just being devil's advocate or what. The content brought by this candidate was exceptional, and it brought a different perspective to a burning issue that public servants are being faced with, 1. And 2, his last argument about government stimulating the economy in order to avoid these pay rises and those kind of stuff. He just made a comparison. Now it irritates his soul when other Caribbean nations are doing better than Trinidad and Tobago. But look at the cost of living in Barbados. People are paying through their teeth to get government.
I never said
in Jamaica.
I never said about not raising. I've never said about not raising prices. I'm just saying that lifts the society. The society lifts collectively. That's what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about you're not going to raise this rate and that rate. I was just saying that when the economy does well, people do well psychologically and become more hopeful. So it raises everybody. I wasn't talking about raises. You didn't understand me.
Yes, but part of the reasons why more developed nations are doing well is by the same taxations and the same things and higher prices where you could get better government services. It's not only just from stimulating the economy, because the government is doing that. The manufacturing sector is doing well. The energy sector is still performing, right? A lot of things. Look at how many businesses are still booming in Trinidad and Tobago, but also taxation has a part to play. And it's time that the population stop running from it and face it so that they could get the same services that they always clamoring for from the government. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much, Kola.
Taxation is part of
let's end it there, guys.
Is part of your revenue, but the more well a society does, the more taxation you get. It's a synergistic thing that the more wealthy a society gets collectively, the more money the government collects.
No, and to that point, Richard, but we must understand that the responsibility for diversification has been largely placed on the government, but the private sector has a role to play in that too. And when
Absolutely.
the private sector chooses to focus on businesses that are only retail based and not on manufacturing, so the government can't hold a big stick and say, you go into manufacturing. And to your point, when the Prime Minister made the statement on that interview, there is nothing wrong with the rich getting richer, but the poor must come out of poverty. And then he went on to say, when the rich get richer, they create opportunities for the poor. It aligns with what you are saying there, that when the economy does well, we do better. But we criticize the Prime Minister for saying that. But when the rich get richer, how do they get richer? By expanding their businesses and creating those same opportunities and boosting the economy. And we beat the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, for saying those words and not really trying to internalize the point that he was making, because we focus and we think the only opportunities the rich can create for the poor is minimum wage jobs, which is not true, because they create opportunities when it is the same rich man needs to get, if it is that he has his air conditioning in his home that needs to be fixed, who he calling? He's not going to call a big company when it is that he needs landscaping.
Part of the disconnect too, Dominic, and which this caller doesn't understand too. Nordic countries, for example, like Scandinavian countries, are very highly taxed.
Yes.
But they understand that the taxation delivers results.
Correct.
That's the disconnect.
Because, Richard, they have the public servants. They have the public servants to implement the policy.
They have systems and accountability that they work, and of course, they're older society.
Try to fire.
But
fire a permanent secretary here now.
But what I'm saying, in a Trinidad and Tobago context, additional taxation, people don't. The general citizenry don't have trust in that additional taxation is going to yield results. They get very cynical that you're taking the money and you're going to do something else with the money, and I'm not going to see the results. I'm still going to see the pothole in the morning. I'm still going to have to wait and get scheduled water, and sometimes no water for 2 weeks. I'm still going to experience all of these issues. And that's part of the disconnect that governments, whoever they are, have to negotiate, I'm using that word, with the population with regard to how that additional money that you're going to pay is tangibly going to make your life better. Don't just say it and it not happen.
Well, let's give Dominic the last few words. Dominic?
Well, let me thank you guys for inviting me this morning, and a lot of important issues that are raised that have been raised that we need to have that we need to discuss as a population, right? And just to close off finally on something that Richard would have just mentioned with respect to the taxation and the quality of what we get for those taxes, right? So therefore, we also have to hold our contractors to book that when it is that you get these billions of dollars to pave a road, pave it for it to last for maybe 10 years now, not 3 years or 5 years, because you expect that if you do that in 5 years' time or 3 years' time, you're going to get another $1 billion contract to fix the same road. Because when you do these things, it is the government that gets the licks. But these same contractors who get in all of these billions to pave these roads, and most oftentimes it is their vehicles that are damaging the roads. And none of them will simply come and say, well, as citizens of the country, let me try and make a contribution. So government pay for the labor and we will pay for the material, or vice versa. Give back as corporate citizens. We do often hear them giving back, right? But we blame the government when they do slipshod work, and then the state gets the blame for it. So I just want to persons listening, you have a choice to make on April 28th. Make the right choice, make the wise choice. Listen to what everybody is saying, but understand promises are made, promises will be made on both sides, but it is important for persons to articulate how these promises are going to be funded. We need to understand what are the revenue streams that are coming in, and listen to who are offering the populist strategies. When it is that persons in society can be saying that they teach what they do, we know that we're in trouble. Right, so I am a young politician. I am offering myself to the people of Malabar, Mousik, and by extension, Trinidad and Tobago. Persons seem to forget that the word that the letters MP means member of parliament. So it's not just about serving in your constituency, but you have a parliamentary responsibility as well to ensure proper laws are enacted for the benefit of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And I intend to lobby hard for the constituents of Malabar, Mousik once they give me that opportunity to represent them. whatever it takes, right? Even if it means that I might have to fight with my party sometime, but at the end of the day, it's those people there that will be sending me there.
Dominic Romain, thank you very much for joining what is inarguably the best show on radio. I hope you take the stream and share it on your program too.
I will. And I'm available anytime that you guys want to have a
Thank you so much, Dominic, for the lively conversation this morning.
Thank you.
And in terms of discussing the politics and economy and other things of Trinidad and Tobago as we move forward to April 28th. Best of luck in your seat.
Thank you.
Well, I think you probably have it locked down. But
you withstood the juggernaut of Richard Raghubasing this morning. Well done.
Best of luck. Best of luck, Dominic. And thanks for joining us on the breakfast show this morning. We appreciate it.
Enjoy it.
Big year. Wonderful interview. Oh, Dominic gave us overtime. We have overtime to claim.
Yeah, it's 9:15. We well went overtime with this interview. But I suppose we kind of started. We started late too, with the interview.
Yeah.
So,
but I just wanted to say something, Richard, before we go. Folks on the chat, you all need to be respectful of one another. I will not identify names, but you all need to be respectful of one another, especially when you going down the road of personally making personal insults to people. Make your political comments. Do not make personal insults to people, please. Do not spoil our show, okay? It's Richard, Raghubasing, Sir Charles Davis, and Wendell Stephen. That's it. We have nobody else on this show. Do not spoil it. Please. All right? Thank you. One life. Live it.
Somebody just say, what overtime you talking about?
I feel I know who it is.
Oh, God. Hey. Anyway, have a fantastic day, whatever you do. And, of course, remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health. This has been The Breakfast Show. Of course, tomorrow we have Gary Griffith on from the NTA in the 7 to 8 o'clock hour, where he'll discuss what are the NTA plans and what are their plans to persuade voters on April 28th. And you know, Gary is never short of words. So I'm sure he will give us an earful in terms of...
I haven't spoken to Gary a little while. If you remember, the last couple of occasions he was on the previous dispensation, I didn't participate because me and he used to get away. But I will be speaking with him tomorrow, God willing.
Yeah, so he'll be on tomorrow, so you can look forward to that. So have a fantastic day, people, whatever you do, and remember to smile and laugh. It's great for health. And of course, remember to do this.
It's my life, and I'm responsible for every action. It's all